to find a free course near you. Supported by the Government of Ireland, Solace and the European Union.
Own your car from the start. At B&S Credit Union, you can do just that with a flexible and affordable car loan. Our friendly and experienced team will make the loan process easy and will be delighted to help you. Visit bnscu.ie or free phone 1800 290 390. Loans are subject to approval, terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Ballyshannon should attend the clinic in Coláiste Columkill in Ballyshannon on Monday 15th of January, and donors from Killybegs should attend the clinic in the Tara Hotel on Tuesday 16th. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 or visit our website to book your time. New donors are vital. Visit GiveBlood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
There you have it. Exciting morning before.
The secret sound is gone. Don't read the request yet. Hold on a second.
How long? I
want to talk about your hat. What hat do you have?
Well, so that's what Caroline says. What kind of potted jam would you have underneath your hat?
I don't know about you, but my phone's already blown up.
But it wasn't a potted jam. It was a wee sachet of jam. So you could put it underneath your hat. It was under your hat.
And in your pocket.
Well, you can put it in your pocket too. You can put it anywhere. So it was just more of
in fairness, you've always played down the clues, and I'll give you that. But
so it's just to give you the dimensions of the
I don't like the serious look on your face.
No, it's good.
I'm joking. Go on, read
I'm
your
so
request.
high now. I'm coming down on the downer. Do you know what I mean? But for Stella Lynch and Buncrana, I'm so happy for her. €2,790. Greg, and you know this time of year is very tough for everybody, and to get a big lump sum of money, and every household out there could be doing with that sort of money and find a good use for it. But so I'm just delighted that somebody's got it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Indeed, for sure.
It was really, really nice.
Okay.
You know?
Well, listen, have a great weekend. You're going to have to come up with something else now for Monday.
Aye. That's be good. Can I just say hi to Mel B? Happy birthday from everyone on Mangan's tour. Buses today. Play request just before 9 o'clock.
Loved her in the Spice Girls.
Did you? She's 50 today, Mel B. As well? No, well, not this Mel B, but the other Spice Girls. Don't you take a hold from me? You have a busy show. No,
I do. All right,
I do.
Listen, take care of yourself, Leo. All right, it is the 9 till noon show on the way. We have our Friday panel about to join us, but first, let's get a news update. It's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A new report has found the National Development Plan may have underestimated the level of investment needed to meet demand. The ESRI adds existing targets for housing supply might understate what's needed because of the increase in population, which was recorded in the most recent census. It has called for the government to think creatively, but adds it faces a dilemma when it comes to investment in public infrastructure. ESRI Director Alan Barrett says increased investment in housing would slow down house prices in the long run.
If you build more houses, you reduce the overall house prices. Okay, so you could get a first round inflationary effect, but the second round effect could actually be positive for inflation. So in the area of housing, we do see a sort of a slightly different trajectory, which does sort of suggest that maybe that is an area for increased investment.
Yemen's Houthis say strikes by the US and UK will not go without punishment or retaliation. The group's military spokesman says 5 fighters were killed while 6 were wounded. British and American troops launched missiles overnight in response to ongoing attacks on ships in the Red Sea. Samuel Romani, an expert on the Middle East, doesn't think things will escalate right away.
The Houthis also have launched attacks on maritime shipping, but they haven't really killed American military personnel. They haven't killed American or Western merchants. I don't think that we'd be looking at a large-scale war just yet, but I think that definitely the risk of an accident is increasing.
Gardaí in Donegal are reminding drivers that road safety should always be a priority. As part of a cross-border operation, Gardaí conducted a checkpoint in Lifford last night alongside the PSNI. Drivers are urged to always drive with care, slow down, wear a seatbelt regardless of where you travel, and never drive under the influence of alcohol and/or drugs. A man arrested following a stabbing in Derry has been released. A man in his 20s was found at a property in the Heron Way area of the city with stab wounds to his body and facial lacerations in the early hours of yesterday morning. The 27-year-old arrested has since been released on police bail pending further inquiries. For weather now, a mostly cloudy and dry day today with frost and ice clearing through the morning. There will be some limited bright or sunny spells with highest temperatures of 3 to 5 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Whether you're adventuring, salsa dancing, or you just popped out for some milk. You're not always home. With An Post, that's not a problem. You can set up a safe spot for us to put your deliveries when you're not in, or rearrange delivery to your local post office. And if something's not right, you can quickly return it with a collection from your door or drop at your local post office. Online shopping made easy with An Post. An Post, for your world.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 till Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, a very good morning to you. 6 minutes past 9 this Friday, the 12th of January 2024, and you're very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till Noon Show, and it's a busy one coming up after 10. We'll have an extensive conversation with the Green Party leader, Eamon Ryan. He's in Donegal for a number of engagements, primarily to meet with Donegal County Council. I had a chat with him a little earlier on and touched on many of the main issues of the day, so stay tuned for that. That's after 10, but between now and then we have a review of the news with our guests, our Friday panel. We'll say good morning first to Leonard Watson, owner of Watson's Menswear Letterkenny. Good morning, Leonard. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Greg. Thank you.
It's great to have you on board again. Paddy Rooney is PRO of Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital. Good morning, Paddy.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Great, and good to have you with us. And Senator Lisa Chambers, leader of the Shannon and spokesperson on European and Foreign Affairs with Fianna Fáil. Good morning to you, Lisa. Thanks as always for your time.
Morning.
Just reading this morning, the government is deeply concerned Israel may have committed war crimes in Gaza and could play a role should the International Court of Justice order a ceasefire while it deliberates South Africa's action alleging genocide in the enclave. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has said. I just wonder from your perspective, particularly given your portfolio, Lisa, I mean, Ireland has taken quite a strong stance on this issue, but we heard from a group of senators on this programme and others as well that we really should be more forthright in our backing of what South Africa is trying to achieve. Do you believe Israel is involved in a genocide and should Ireland toughen up its position?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, since the beginning of this conflict in October, I think the Irish government have been quite strong and certainly have stood out from the crowd in terms of a European perspective. It's so much has happened between the beginning of this and where we are today, but even at the very outset, there was moves at the time at a European level to cut off funding, EU funding to Palestine, if you can believe that, at the very outset following October 7th. And Ireland was one of only 4 member states that blocked that. So from the very beginning, we have been very strong in supporting the Palestinian people. And, you know, obviously acknowledging on what happened on October 7th was horrific. But what has happened since is just unjustifiable. And I think, you know, the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach in particular on the international stage have certainly been out on their own at times in terms of their commentary in their condemnation of Israel, and the Taoiseach saying that it looked like revenge. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but you know, at the time that was very strong language because that was earlier on in what's been going on. And I welcome the Taoiseach's comments that we can do something to support South Africa, hoping that the ICJ make the right call and look for a ceasefire. He did also acknowledge that a similar direction was given to Russia in regards to Ukraine, and they chose to ignore it. And it is possible that if a similar direction is given from the ICJ to Israel, that they may very well ignore that, and that is a possibility. But
that becomes very interesting, then, doesn't it, in terms of the relationship with the United States and the backing, I suppose you could call it at this stage, of the EU. That would be a very big decision for Israel to take.
It would, and I suppose part of the context is the political situation in Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, and he's got a very extreme right-wing elements in his government, and I would say he's on that side himself. And politically for him, what happened on October 7th really kind of spelled the end of his career in politics, and he knows it. So there is a domestic element within Israel that's feeding into this extreme, aggressive and murderous response on the part of Israel. But you're right, if there was a direction from the ICJ that there should be an immediate ceasefire while matters are further investigated, and if Israel were to choose to ignore that, you know, the point has been made by the US and the EU that Israel is a Western democracy, that it is a democracy, and we expect We expect certain things from countries like that. So I do think they would find themselves with even fewer friends than they have now. And there's no doubt about it. There's a limit to what Ireland can do as a small country, as a member of the European Union.
Exactly, there is a limit.
We've done.
So our stance makes make it all the more important. There is this feeling, and you're not here to defend. You're not invited, as you know yourself. You're not invited to defend government policy or attitudes. That's not the purpose of it. We want your views, Lisa. But it just so happens that these are the issues we talk of. There is this sense that yes, Ireland is taking a stance, but it's been very diplomatic in that it doesn't want to either sort of get on the wrong side of Brussels or Washington for that matter. And this is of a scale, though, that I really would hope that the people that represent us ensure that we as a nation aren't seen in the future to be on the wrong side of history, because it seems to be very clear what's going on, and sort of trying to remain, keep diplomatic connections strong at the expense of maybe doing the right thing. Is that really representing the feelings of the Irish people?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Irish people, we've always had a very strong connection with Palestine because of our own history and our own conflict on the island and being colonised. I think we've always had that affinity with Palestine, and that predates this conflict. And that's very much evident from, I can tell you, and ask any member of the Oireachtas currently, our inbox is full with emails about Gaza, and there's a huge number of people getting in contact, and it shows you there are very few international issues that dominate the domestic political agenda in this country, and this is one of them. So the Irish government are under no illusions as to where the people in this country stand. I think what the Irish government have been trying to do is to kind of toe that line between remaining a credible voice for peace, having access to the EU table and the US table, and to be able to talk to those that can influence an outcome here. And let's be honest about it, the US really is the only country that can really influence Israel at this point in time, I believe, and the EU to a lesser extent. So Ireland has been trying to maintain its connections, its diplomatic connections, so that it can have some influence. But I think at all times has very much pushed to the boundaries and really kind of made people uncomfortable, and rightly so. But certainly it's very clear what's happening to the Gazan people, and an entire population has been displaced. The UN has cited Gaza now as being uninhabitable. Their health system is on its knees, and there are the thousands of children. The majority of those that have been killed are children, and nobody can stand over that. And Israel will have to account for itself, because they are war crimes in my view. So I think the hearing yesterday was historic. I think South Africa did the world community a great service yesterday, and we'll hear from Israel today, and I'm sure that'll be difficult to listen to. But I do certainly hope that the ICJ do issue a direction for a ceasefire, because it will put Israel under pressure to try and maintain friends internationally, because they will need it. And in reality, Greg, the only way that we're going to have peace between Palestine and Israel, and that there's going to be security for both states, is if there are peace talks and the bombs and the guns get put down, and our country knows that better than anybody else. Yeah. That's the only time you'll have peace.
The problem is Israel doesn't seem to be of the same mind as the international community, and
no, and nor do Hamas either. I mean, Hamas need to stop bombing as well, and peace talks need to happen. But unfortunately, I would agree, I don't think we're there yet for both sides to get around the table, but it's the only solution.
Understood.
It's the only solution.
Paddy Rooney, what's your view on Ireland's stance? Do you think we have gone far enough, or could we have taken a stronger stance? And when I say we, obviously I'm speaking on behalf. I'm speaking of those who speak on our behalf. Now, many people listening will say they don't, but on an international scale, they do.
Well, in fairness, I suppose, to the Irish government, Greg, that they have been out ahead of a lot of the other governments in Europe and in the European Union about criticising or being critical of Israel's behaviour in Palestine. And I suppose there are other countries now slowly but surely coming round to Ireland's view on this. If you can't use persuasion and argument to encourage the likes, or to impress upon the likes of America, to impress on Israel to stop what they're doing, well, I suppose the next thing that you must use is some kind of shock tactics. There was a very interesting and disturbing interview on the Drive Time programme on RT yesterday evening, when Sarah McInerney interviewed a guy called Nick Maynard. He's a surgeon in the NHS in England, and he spent 2 weeks in Gaza. And Lisa said there in her contribution, rightfully, that the health service in Gaza is on its knees. But he said that he was expecting a very dire situation in Gaza before he went out there. But when he got there, and he was able to navigate his way through all the broken roads and broken buildings and the congestion, so on and so forth, and he got to the hospitals, he described the situation as apocalyptic. And he was talking about the disproportionate amount of children who are coming to hospitals because their parents and adults have all been killed, and with very severe burns, and in many, many cases about traumatic amputations of their limbs, their arms and their legs, and that orthopedic surgeons were taking off the rest of the limb or surgically reconstructed without any antiseptic, right? So there was no pethidine or no analgesia. There was no anesthesia. There was no running water that a surgeon down the road in the hospital could take for granted. They were using alcohol and any kind of spirits they could use to disinfect their hands. They had no antiseptic drapes. I mean, it was just absolutely dreadful what he was describing. And he made the point that with all of the Western media that's in Gaza, but they're failing to get across, because when he came home, he expected to see this on BBC News and Sky News, and he didn't see it. And he said that even at their best endeavours, that they're failing to report how bad the situation is, and he described it as apocalyptic. And he said that he saw images, and he was involved in things that are never going to leave him. And this is a guy that he's a surgeon now, so he's seen all types of things. And what's more, he said, but because the level of congestion around hospitals and people living so close to each other, and there's no running water, there's no sanitation. He says we are a hair's breadth away from an outbreak of cholera in Gaza. And if that happens, the 25,000 people that have been so far killed in it, that number will be doubled in the space of days if that ever happens. And nothing is being done. And the level of aid that's getting in, as much as it is, but it's only a trickle getting into it, and it's nothing in comparison to what needs to be there. And if Israel isn't going to listen to this, the only person or people that they will listen to is America, and somebody somewhere is going to have to get that into Joe Biden's mind and Antony Blinken's mind, and they're going to have to go to Israel and take them to heel before somebody else does.
A leading Irish barrister told the International Court of Justice the conflict in Gaza is the first genocide in history where its victims are broadcasting their own destruction in the desperate, so far vain hope the world might do something. And that world really, I suppose, to some extent feeds to Paddy's point there in, Biden and his administration. Leonard, do you believe the Irish government should be going further? I mean, it is impossible to put into words, and Paddy's done an excellent job in sort of painting the horrendous conditions and position and what's going on. And I would say that's probably even only the tip of the iceberg, Leonard.
Do you know what? Sorry, Greg. Lisa used a word there that Leo Varadkar used, revenge, and this is totally revenge. They're, to me, they're just trying to wipe them. They've always said that they wanted Israel wiped off the map. Well, Israel's trying to wipe Palestine off the map now. It's I think the government, in fairness to them, they have spoke out when other governments, the UK and the US, have been great backers of Israel. I think now they're finding out that maybe that was unjustified, or they give too much support. The UK is kind of rolling back because the Republic is rolling back. They're horrified with what's going on over there. You have to feel in the US it's the same way. But there's no winners here. It's just, as Lisa said, the amount of children. What's going to be left for these people when this is all sorted out? There's going to be absolutely nothing left. You'll just be a barren.
Well, it seems part of the strategy is also where the population has been expelled or moved to actually wipe out anything to return to. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. There's going to be nothing to go back to. And everybody knows Gaza's population of children is huge. So what lives have we for these children now as well? It's horrific to, and we're all sitting watching this going on every day, and nobody is saying stop. As Lisa says, both sides have to stop the bombings, and they have to talk. We see what happened in this country over 30 years. There was no winners. Peace is only option.
Okay, we'll be back with more from our guests after these messages. Stay right where you are.
The 9 till Noon Show, brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, where you can care for your car with Toyota Relax, giving you a year's warranty with your service. Terms and conditions apply.
Don't miss the BAFTA award-winning comedian Michael McIntyre's brand new show, Magnificent, at the SSE Arena Belfast on Friday the 31st of May 2024. As always, Highland Radio make it easy for you as we look after all your needs. We will provide luxury transfers, overnight stay at the Clayton Hotel Belfast on a B&B basis, your ticket to the show, shopping time in Belfast City Centre. For more information, go to the outlet at highlandradio.com or give us a call on 074 91 25000. Michael McIntyre in Belfast.
The Restex Beds and Furniture Winter Sale is now in full swing at their showroom at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny, supplying only the finest quality, luxurious Irish-made beds and mattresses with genuine savings throughout the range. We look forward to seeing you at the Restex Beds and Furniture Winter Sale.
So you're saying mental health difficulties can be smaller things?
Yeah.
Like trouble sleeping?
Yeah.
Or if I'm always stressed, like?
Yeah.
Or often anxious?
They're all part of your mental health.
Thought those were separate.
Nope. They're all connected.
Hey, how do you know all this anyway?
Sure, I've been there myself.
Anxiety, ongoing stress, low mood or trouble sleeping, they're all part of your mental health. Make the connection and find support that can help at yourmentalhealth.ie from the HSE.
Watson Menswear's big January sale is now on, in store and online, with great discounts across top names in menswear, like Andre, Tom Penn and Rimazumo. Also big savings on Superdry, Penguin and Tommy Bow footwear. Don't miss out on some great bargains in the big January sale, now on at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time, 22 minutes past 9. Now, just to remind you, WhatsApp and text the show 08660 25000 or give us a call on 07491 25000. You can watch the programme on your smart TV, your Fire Stick, on the YouTube app, Highland Radio Ireland. You can take that on your mobiles as well and watch us across Facebook, Highland Hub, Highland Radio News and Sport. We are in the company of our Friday panel today, Paddy Rooney, PRO of Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, Leonard Watson, owner of Watson's Menswear Letterkenny, but he does much more than that too, of course. Senator Lisa Chambers, leader of the Shannon and spokesperson on European and Foreign Affairs with Fianna Fáil. The government has been accused of doing U-turns on accommodation for international protection applicants. The male ones in particular, because of public pressure. We've seen it on a couple of occasions whereby there's documentation issued to local public representatives and it outlines what the accommodation will be used for and what have you. It's leaked to the public. There becomes a bit of a movement online often, and then we see a protest. Now, what happened in the two most recent cases, that very quickly the profile of the residents went from the men to families, and there's accusations that this is the government effectively buckling to public pressure. Eamon Ryan this morning, we'll hear from it later, the latest minister to say that look, things just move very quickly. It's got nothing to do with that. It just was pure coincidence on both occasions. I'll start with you again on this, Senator Lisa Chambers. I mean, it's very difficult for the public to swallow that an announcement is made, there's public protests, the government changed their mind. But they say they're not changing their mind. It's a very fluid situation. What do you believe the truth is?
From, if you're looking at it from the outside, it looks as though there was a mind change. The only reason that I would suggest that priority is given to women and children. So if women and children had come in those couple of days and they didn't have accommodation, they would get it if the accommodation hadn't been previously filled. And the government are very aware that if they start to adjust their policy, that it'll be almost impossible to house refugees. So for that reason, and I'm not party to these conversations, so I don't know what conversations happened with Roderick O'Gorman and the other government ministers, but they certainly wouldn't want to be seen to be backtracking on the face of public protest and pressure, because it makes their job impossible. So for that reason alone, it is quite likely that they just had women and children and they had come along in those couple of days and they got the position or got the places because they were still vacant. But that doesn't stop it looking as though it was a change of mind because of protest. So look, people will have to make up their own minds on that, and they will, and it doesn't really matter what I say or what Eamon Ryan says on that front. But apart from that, we've got protests now, I think, in Tipperary last night. Obviously, we had protests in my own county in Mayo last week, and we had the issue in Galway, and there's been issues in Dublin. So it's nationwide. This is a big challenge for us as a country to deal with migration and how we deal with people fleeing war and really horrendous situations. And then we look at those 14 people that came in on the back of a freezer truck that, thank God they got here alive. So it's a very challenging situation, but something that I have been consistently raising, and I've said it on this show, I think even well into early part of last year, is the use of tourist accommodation to house refugees as a long-term solution. It cannot be a long-term solution because it's having an impact on the tourism sector in rural areas. And we know in Donegal, 50% of bed nights are gone for housing refugees. I think in Mayo it's about 35, maybe close to 40. Same in Galway. So you're looking along the western seaboard where, our tourism sector really kind of only comes into action kind of really from Patrick's weekend to the October bank holiday weekend. It's seasonal. So that's a challenge for us to deal with. And I welcome what Minister Ryan had said a couple of days ago. I'm sure he probably said it to you again this morning, that they are moving towards larger reception centres, because dealing with small private providers who we know, and in Donegal, and I can see it in Mayo as well, people are making a lot of money off going around scouting out vacant and abandoned buildings, flipping them around, put a roof and 4 walls up, and Bob's your uncle, you've got accommodation for people, and it's very lucrative. And because of that, we're seeing small rural towns where you might have the hotel that maybe isn't full that much, and somebody's being offered a lot of money and you're full every day of the week. It's difficult to say no to that because it might help pay the bills and pay the staff. So we need to move away from using tourist accommodation. The larger reception centres will make it much easier to handle, and we need to move away from engaging with small private ad hoc providers that are going around speculating on buildings in large parts of the west of Ireland, to be quite honest about it. And that will make it easier to deal with, I think. I think there was a lot of tolerance given last year in what I would consider the emergency phase of this, where the numbers coming in just exploded and we'd never had anything like it. And people said, look, we have to do the right thing, and this is an emergency situation. I think what the public are looking for now is a more sustainable, less chaotic approach, one where it's planned in advance. It looks like we're organised, like we're in control, and that it isn't just coming in the dark of night. Have you got a building? Grand, we'll take it. And the government have reacted to that. And I think also the cabinet decision in the latter part of last year, and the legislation is coming through this month, to reduce the welfare rates for those coming in as refugees. I think if you were coming in from Ukraine, you were getting the full social welfare job seekers benefit. That's been brought back down now to €39. So it just encourages people to get out and work where they can work. And I think that was the government listening to people and responding and saying, yeah, that was a pull factor. We've addressed it, and we're going to try and move into what I would see now as the medium term phase of this, because the war in Ukraine still rages. That's not going to end anytime soon. We have people migrating from other parts of the world because of climate change and other conflicts. So we're just going to have to find a better, less chaotic way of dealing with this. And I think you're going to see that now. Okay.
And before I just bring the other two in, just a little bit of breaking sports news, if you don't mind, because it's quite a big deal, and I don't want to dilute this important issue as well. But Jim McGuinness will no longer have to serve an 8-week ban. Following a request by Jim McGuinness to the Ulster Hearings Committee, the County Secretary has been informed that the alleged infraction, this is playing an underage player, was not proven, and that no further disciplinary action is to be taken. So that means that Jim McGuinness will not serve any ban at all, and the team and County and Jim can look forward to the McKenna Cup semi-final against Monaghan on Sunday. So sorry, I just wanted to bring that to people who may not be aware. Leonard Watson, I mean, does it matter if the government's U-turned or not? I suppose this is just the latest, point of interest in a greater topic, really. The majority of people, if you look at the way questions are worded, the majority of people are opposed to unlimited immigration. They want assurances about people being checked as they arrive into the country, and they want to also make sure that there are services in particular areas to support an increase in population. I think that's the real view, and not necessarily the extreme view from one way or the other. I'm open to correction on that.
But see, Greg, that's just my point I was just going to make. Over the last year and a half, I would say maybe 10,000 have come into Donegal. Our services haven't increased. Even there's children come in with special needs. Our services, as you know, are under extreme pressure with 50% vacancy rates. We have a housing crisis. There's when we all have to do our bit, and everybody got about Ukraine that year. But when's enough in a certain area? At one stage last year, Donegal had the third highest amount of refugees and asylum seekers in the country. So there's a total disparity across the country. We have a housing crisis. And again, the HSE up here, we have issues in that there. But there's just no joined up thinking. There's no talking to the community. I would actually say putting 50 young men into any building, doesn't matter where they're from, will be an issue for some people.
Do you think men are routinely that dangerous?
No, men are. But you know what, Greg? If this was 50 Englishmen, would people have as big an issue? Probably wouldn't. But I'm just I know. I was chatting to a businessman there recently. He has a business in another town in another county, I'd not say. But he was saying a lot of these young men. But he says they're not causing any bother, but they're just hanging around the streets. They have nothing to do. These people should be given something to do. They're a perfect example. I see on a Sunday morning in Letterkenny. No, these aren't asylum seekers. These are what I would call the New Irish, the tidy towns. I would say 80% of the people down, doing the tidy town work are foreigners. And it's brilliant to see that's them try to integrate into the community, become part of the community, and that's what we should be aiming towards. If these people come in, process them as quick as possible, get them out and get them working. We have a labour shortage in certain sectors, and if these people aren't meant to be here, we need to move them back on. But it's just everything is too slow.
Yeah, it has sped up somewhat, though. I think the turnaround times are much shorter than they were in the past. But I take your point, Paddy. The bottom line is we've seen over 20 arson attacks on accommodation. We're seeing protests being organised very, very quickly. We are seeing services under pressure. Lisa's pointing to a future whereby we've gone through the emergency part of this now, and we go into a more managed position. That's what the government wants. Do you think this will settle down?
Oh, not at all. It's not going to settle down. Lisa's actually taken some of my lines there. So anyway,
sorry,
I don't want to repeat what she has correctly said already. I think that we are not.
Can I just point out, by the way, that we don't give people lines, and that was just a throwaway. That was a throwaway. We're not controlled media. That was a throwaway remark from Paddy Rooney. Continue, Mr. Rooney.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I think that we're in the phase now where we're not having a mature, grown-up discussion about this, and we are talking about this as a today problem. My wife and I were over in London before Christmas, and we happened to take a taxi ride, and the guy that was driving the taxi was from Turkey, and he was telling me that there are 4 million Syrian refugees in Turkey. And if people want to think that Ireland is going to escape that, they're very, very badly mistaken. We had the Arab uprising within the last 10 years, and it started off in Egypt and went the whole way along to the Moroccan border. And the end result or byproduct of that is millions of people are on the move. And Lisa talked about the conflict in the Middle East, and we've had the conflict in Afghanistan and so on and so forth. Whether we like it or not, many people who are fleeing poverty or climate change adjustments or persecution or death or destruction or whatever it is, Ireland is now a destination of choice for a lot of those people, whether we like it or not. And we think we have a problem today. I would suspect in 25 years' time, the profile of our population is going to be very, very different than it is at the moment. I mean, Ireland in land size...
Is that something we should be discussing?
Absolutely.
Because it's not, to say that it is not a fait accompli either. Presumably there are policies that... because if that were to change, who's to say the impact it might have on things like tourism and what have you? It's just because the product would change. I'm not saying people would not come here for any particular reason. How do we have that conversation then, Paddy, to say that, look...
Well, I'll tell you, Greg, we're going way beyond that now, because we're going way beyond that. This is going to happen whether we like it or not. The Dubliners had a hit single in the 1960s with... thank God we're surrounded by water. Well, Britain is surrounded by water. And one of the premises around the Brexit referendum in 2016 was that they were going to stop inward migration to Britain and that they were going to deport a lot of the illegal people that were there. Nobody has been deported, and the level of migration, illegal migration into Britain has accelerated since that. We can't stop it because people are going to come to this country by fair or foul means. It is a very lucrative market and business now for people that are involved in the business of moving people. Not trafficking them, but moving them. And they're going to come, and they're going to come in big numbers, whether we like it or not. And I don't think there is anything that this state can do. France can't do it. Germany can't do it. Britain are not able to do it. Why would we be able to do it? They're coming, and they're coming in large numbers. And I have...
Well, people would have it...
We are just gonna, do you mind if I just make this point now? What I know Lisa was talking about, people... housing people here and there and so on and so forth. And that's fine. And there's problems with that. But I can tell you now, we are sowing the seeds of huge problems down the line about building these very large reception centres, or whatever you want to call them. Because you're going to have a situation now, for instance, where you can have a reception centre. I don't know what the population of these or how much they can accommodate. But you imagine a reception centre with 400 and 500 people from Libya or somewhere in it, and what they're going to do. I mean, what we're going to do here is like a Harlem that ended up accidentally in New York. We're going to end up with ghettos in this country that people are going to be placed conveniently in there, and it's going to be like what happened in Ballymun back in the 60s and so on and so forth. We are sowing seeds of huge problems coming down the line if we do not do three things. One, we accept that people are coming and we can't do anything about it, because that's what's going to happen. We have to assimilate them into society, and that means that they're not all placed in North Dublin, that they're everywhere in Gweedore and Dingle and Wexford, and they're assimilated into society. And we just have to accept that they are the new Irish, and that's going to be the case, because in 25 years' time, our population profile is going to be very, very different than it is today. In fact, all you have to do, Greg, is take a walk around Henry Street and O'Connell Street and Grafton Street in Dublin. Pop over to London in Oxford Street and have a walk.
I mean,
pop over to France, and you're going to be seeing very different coloured faces.
But that's exactly what a lot of people want to avoid. And that comment came just after you talked about different coloured faces. I didn't mean it in that regard. Leonard, Lisa, I mean, is that, that's precisely what it seems a lot of people in Ireland want to avoid, but Paddy says that it is inevitable.
Like, I think, we've always had migration and people coming into the country. I think the levels coming in from Ukraine have really exacerbated matters, and it's just the numbers were of a different scale than we had before. But like, if you look around to our health service, our nursing care services, lots of different jobs in the country are being done by people that, are not, say, Irish born or maybe have moved into the country. So we've always had people coming in, and obviously Irish people regularly go to other countries. And I think there's probably isn't a family in the country that hasn't a loved one somewhere in the world making a living and travelling and working elsewhere. So that has always been the case. But I think because of the numbers coming in from Ukraine, we've had to deal with a lot more in a short space of time. And that's as well along with a housing crisis in the country where there's pressures on accommodation that's making this an even more acute challenge for us. But, there is, I think what Paddy has said around this being inevitable, people will always be coming in, and there are more conflicts now, and there are more challenges in terms of climate change, where countries are becoming less habitable and more difficult to actually just survive, and people are migrating towards different climates. But I think our geography, to a certain extent, will makes it more difficult to get here because we're an island nation, unlike France or Germany. But he's right when he points out about the UK, which has been quite interesting and difficult for their government to deal with, despite repeated assurances that the Rwanda policy, where they're going to apparently ship people off to Rwanda that come into their country. Not one person has been shipped off to Rwanda yet. They can't get the legislation passed in the UK, and people are still travelling there because when people are desperate, they will find a way to get out of their desperate situation, and as we've seen, will risk their lives, and many will lose their lives trying to get to somewhere else just so they can survive and better themselves. But I think our challenge really in this country currently is the lack of suitable accommodation. It's the scattergun approach with which we've been dealing with it the past year. And I do think we'll move towards a more sustainable, less chaotic model in the year to come. And I do hope, and overall, I think people want to help as best they can. But the point that Leonard made about that there has to be fairness in how this is distributed across the state. And it's not fair if there are parts of the country that are shouldering what will be viewed as more than their fair share. And that is a challenge for government as well, to ensure there is fairness.
And often that is about services, it's about GPs, it's about hospitals, it's about schools. Go ahead, Paddy.
No, I'm sorry, I'm just going to make the point here. You see, I think we're way beyond that because it doesn't matter about the state of the health service or the schools or the GPs and so on and so forth, or it doesn't matter about the fair distribution because they're going to come. I mean, if you look at a place at the town of Bradford in Yorkshire, in England, I think the 80% of the population of it is Asian. If you go to certain boroughs or councils in South London, if you walk the streets there, you won't find any English being spoken. The street signs are in Urdu. So these people are going to come in large numbers, whether we like it or not, whether we think we have the resources for it, or we think about the fair distribution. They're going to come.
Some people would characterise that as, it's not as, but sort of like an invasion. In other words, that this country is going to be seen as a decent old spot from a climate perspective and what have you, and that you're saying that people are going to come in here that will change the demographic, maybe the religious makeup, the cultural makeup of the country, and you're saying that nothing can be done about that. I mean, it paints a... Yeah, I mean, some might see it as enrichment. Others might see it as a very scary prospect that the country that they know right now will not exist, so to speak, in a couple of generations.
And sorry to cut it, but the reason why I'm saying that is, I have no proof of this, but the reason why I'm saying that is much bigger, more powerful countries than us fail to do it.
Well, you see what's happening in the United States. It is really unbelievable.
Holland is we are a country twice the land size of Holland, but they have 4 times our population, right? So there's plenty of room here for all these people to come. It's not a negative thing. It'll all settle down eventually, but it might take 50 years to do it. But because I don't see how we're going to be able to do something that other countries bigger and
with
more
immigration policies
weren't able to do.
With immigration policies, with deporting people as soon as they arrive here if they're not documented, not signing up to initiatives where we take our share, things like that. But anyway, you're saying no. I'm trying to articulate. I'm trying to articulate texts that are likely to come in because it's just to try and. Okay, we'll be back in 4 minutes and then we can run through to 10 with more from our guests.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota Port Road, Letterkenny. Home to a wide range of Toyota commercial vehicles. Your perfect business partner.
The McDonald's Saver Meal Deals have it all, like the classic cheeseburger Saver Meal Deal, including medium fries and a drink for just €6, or the delicious double cheeseburger meal deal, which is twice as nice for just €7. But there's more. For €6, you can get the mouth-watering mayo chicken meal deal and a delicious bun. Phew. I'm talking so fast because we all like getting our money's worth. And that's why I've only got 20 seconds to tell you about the McDonald's Saver Meal Deals. From 11 a.m, not available on delivery.
Well, Grace, how are you today? I'm good. I've just been down to the Made-to-Measure Fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365 on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie.
Hands off our land. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
The new IFA president has vowed to fight the confiscation of farmers' land. Board B, a Kuwait proposal tells farmers who they should buy cattle from. Taoiseach vows to resolve VAT issues and TAMS grants. Minister backtracks on acres payments. Plus, don't miss our top tax-saving tips that could save you thousands, including farmer case studies and advice on how to minimise your revenue bill.
Only inside the Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Winter sale now on at Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms. 10% off all purchases for a limited period. T's and C's apply. See in store. Book a free consultation today in our Donegal Town showroom on 074 97 25 822. Luxury kitchens and bedrooms at affordable prices. Expect more and get more at Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, where you can now test drive the new Toyota CHR, combining standout styling, an engaging drive, and class-leading efficiency.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
The big shop just got bigger with the Lidl XXL range. Get 25% extra free with Board B approved XXL skinny beef burgers, $3.79. Pick XXL Irish carrots with 33% extra free, $1.15. And 33% extra free with XXL frozen fruits, $2.99. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
The sale you have all been waiting for at Clare Clothing, Letterkenny. 2 days clearance. 50% off all winter stock this Friday and Saturday. Clare Clothing, Letterkenny.
Actions speak louder than words, so I'll keep the words to a minimum. Last year, thousands of people chose Seat for their new car. Why? Because with the Arona, Ateca and Tarraco, we have a stunning lineup of SUVs. And we offer a wide range of purchase options to suit your needs. To see what you've been missing out on, visit seat.ie and check out our 241 offers. Visit seat.ie. What are you waiting for? Go on. Seat.ie for our 241 offers.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Arona air to water heat pump and Uflex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
Okay, the weather forecast for today, a mostly cloudy and dry day with any frost and ice clearing through the morning. There'll be some limited brighter sunny spells, highest temperatures of 3 to 5 degrees in light northeast to variable breezes. Getting some reports of a road traffic collision at the Polestar roundabout in Letterkenny. So just if you're approaching it, if you're experiencing delays, that's likely what it is. We'll have more details on that later on. Okay, we're in the company of Paddy Rooney, Leonard Watson and Senator Lisa Chambers. Leonard Watson, do you believe we're likely to see a general election in 2024? Lots of people around the world going to the polls. We'll be going to the polls too. And Udaris and Gaeltacht elections, Europeans, local elections. Would you like to see a general election? Pat the Cope Gallagher was on with us yesterday. He's convinced there could be a summer election here in 2024. Would you like that?
You don't think we're going to have election fatigue by then? European election, local elections? But you know what, Greg? Do I really want to see an election? It's just the whole, you know, it's a whole cesspit of an election now. Elections have changed so much, and the social media probably is the one that it's just the diversity that happens around elections is just terrible. Plus, will a lot change? I know people have this thing that...
Well, we have to have them eventually. It's democracy.
Yeah, I know that. But you're going to have 3 elections in the 1 year. It's just going to be a lot, I think. But it's just the whole thing. You know, I think people have this thing in their head, things are going to change dramatically after an election. And the truth is, it won't. Like, you know, the next government, whoever there, may get things done better, may do. But at the end of the day, civil servants run the country. As I'd say call the shots. The government can say what they want, but at the end of the day, there's a budget there. We don't have a magic tree of money, so there's only so much can be done. Well, at the end of the day, the people have a right to their vote. People want an election, but just will things change dramatically after it? I don't know.
Right, okay. Well, we have to keep our fingers crossed, whether it's the same government returned or a new government. Lisa, would you fancy, for your party's perspectives, would you fancy an election in 2024? Because listen, at the end of the day, we're going to be going into general election mode, in 2024, because, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil want to assert themselves, as different parties. So it's going to start in 2024. Whether it comes to fruition or not, we don't know. What would you favour?
Yeah, for any politician, elections are kind of part and parcel of the job, and we've had 4 years now without any election, so it's going to be a busy year. We know we have the 2 referenda on the 8th of March, so we're going to the polls in March. We have the local European elections on the 7th of June, so we're going to the polls again in June. And I think I don't know this, and the only person that knows when the next general election is going to be, if he knows, is the Taoiseach, because he's the only person that can actually call an election before the due date of next year. So if he wants to go early, I think my prediction is that if you see any government TDs elected to the European Parliament and a by-election or by-elections required in November this year, it's quite likely, in the speculation in Leinster House, because obviously we chat about this quite a lot, is that you'll have a general election before you'd have by-elections, because governments tend to lose by-elections. So my prediction would be that you'd have a budget and then you'd go to the country after that before you'd be required to have any by-elections. So I think it'll depend on how June goes. We're in election mode now as political parties, because June, the local and European elections, because they're so close to the general election, even if it is early next year, it's still very close, will kind of set the ground for that general election, and parties will need to do well in June and have a good footing heading into the Dáil campaign. So parties are very focused on June. It'll be really important for us, and particularly the local elections, that's your ground team. Having a good result in those elections is really crucial, and a lot of parties, ourselves included, will be looking to successful local election candidates, probably to go on Dáil tickets as well across the country in different places. So it'll be a busy year, and it's possible after 2 referenda and local and European elections, people might be a little bit fatigued, but look, it's just the nature of it. We're going to have a busy electoral year regardless of what happens with the Dáil elections.
It's not just us. What do you think the makeup of the next government might be, Lisa? And I'm asking you just as a bit of a political anorak rather than a member of a particular party, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we chat about this all of the time. There would be a school of thought that the current coalition would have a reasonable chance of being re-elected. I don't think certainly you won't see Fianna Fáil running on a re-elect the coalition platform. I believe my party, what we'll do is we will run on our own manifesto, and try and seek our own mandate. And I think what the position will be, and we haven't had this conversation within the parliamentary party, but what I believe will happen is that we'll seek our own mandate, and we'll see what the numbers are afterwards, and we'll talk to everybody. I think Fine Gael will rule out Sinn Féin, and I think Sinn Féin will probably try and rule out Fine Gael and leave themselves open to others. So you'll either see the current coalition re-elected, maybe with or without the Greens, potentially maybe with the Labour add-on or a Soc Dems add-on, potentially, or you could see a Fianna Fáil Sinn Féin government. But I think certainly within my party, there would be at least half of our members and probably half the parliamentary party that would just not wear that. So I don't know is the honest answer, but they're the two. I think Fianna Fáil will probably be the kind of meat in the sandwich, in that we're the only.
Is that because
party.
of ideological differences, or is it about getting into opposition and sort of re-establishing Fianna Fáil as a standalone party?
We don't want to be in opposition. We want to be in government, and I can never understand any party or politician heading into an election wanting to be in opposition, because I think that's completely useless. You can't implement your policies or your ideas in opposition. So any party stepping out of the frame for government, what a waste! What a wasted vote if you're voting for that party, because they clearly don't want to do their job. So I think every party should be aiming for government, would be my view on it, and no one should be stepping off the pitch. And if you're heading into a coalition government, always the challenge will be you'll have your manifesto on the things you'd like to do, but you won't be able to do all of those things. You'll have to compromise. And what my party leader has often said is that he doesn't see how he'd be able to agree a programme for government with Sinn Féin in terms of how will they actually agree a programme for government. So he's coming at it from a policy position. There will be people in my party that will be coming at it from an ideological position and say we just can't go in with Sinn Féin. And I'm sure that...
And as you say too, though, no more than you can't run an election, you can't run an election for opposition. Fianna Fáil don't want to be seen to be running an election to be second fiddle to Sinn Féin in a coalition. It's difficult to get the messaging correctly, isn't it? So you have to run the election as, no, we want to lead the next government, even though the reality is that when the numbers are finally counted. And who is to say? People presume after a general election that the current coalition is gone. I think that's really foolish to presume that just because there is an election that's the case, because strategically Sinn Féin have gotten it wrong before as well. And as again, there's an awful lot of debate and questions to be asked in the run-up to election, which can change people's minds and views in many different directions. Paddy Rooney, would you like to see, though, is it the time right, 2024? It's the year of democracy globally. Should we just get this out of the way now?
Well, we haven't had a national election in this country since 2020, and now we're going to have a whole slew of them, and there's the presidential election somewhere in the queue there too. I don't know when. Is it the tail end of this year? Is it next year when that's coming off? So Irish politics now is a bit like what Lenin, the famous Russian revolutionary leader, said about Russian politics. We have nothing happens in decades, and then we have decades happens within weeks. It's the prerogative, I suppose, of the Taoiseach to call the election. And it used to be, anyway, in old money that the Taoiseach would call the election when he deemed it to be most advantageous for his party to do it. Now, I suppose history is rife with examples about when Taoiseach got it wrong. I mean, Liam Cosgrave is supposed to have thrown away a winning hand in 1977 because he went too early, and John Bruton stands out as making a bit of a mess of it because if he had waited, it was 1997 and there was good times coming and he just went too early. And of course, Enda Kenny then was criticised in 2015 because he went too long. He let it go. He should have gone in the autumn instead of. So I don't know, does it get it right or whatever? However, Ivan Yates was on your programme a couple of days ago and he threw a few interesting pieces into the pot here. I suppose the Taoiseach has two opposite things being whispered into his ear. One is about do it early to head off the inevitable that Sinn Féin are going to have a dramatic increase in the number because they had a very bad election in local election 2019 and they're going to have a good one this time. So they could potentially multiply their number of councillors in the country by 3. And as Lisa sort of alluded to it there, they will actually be growing and give a profile to potential TDs. So the best way to deal with that is to cut the head of the snake and to go early. However, because of the volatility of the electorate out there, I'd say nobody has an idea about what's going to happen here because Ivan Yates made the point again that somewhere people from their mid-40s or down, and younger, how their parents voted for, how their family traditionally voted, how they even voted themselves in the last election is all gone now.
Is it? I'm not sure that's proven, though.
Well, we'll see. I'll tell you why now, because I have extended family members and people that I know that are coming out of particular houses that have voted in a long way, and they're voting very, very different.
Well, you know what? I would love to hear...
Hold on a second. Some of these people are well-educated and in relatively good jobs, but Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are not the top of their agenda anymore. With very valid reasons, they don't own a house, and even though they're in very good jobs, whatever that means, the prospects of them ever owning a house is dim, right? They have a problem with getting timely access to healthcare service, and that's not going to improve. They don't have a defined pension anymore, and that's not going to improve. They have a perception, whether it's real or imaginary, that all these new people coming into the country are getting preference to them in relation to welfare and housing and so on and so forth. They want to strike out and give somebody a bloody nose. Who are they going to go for? It's going to be Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil for the simple reason they've always been there.
I wish I had more time because we're getting into an interesting space there. Paddy Riddy Pirro, Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, thank you so much for joining us. Lisa, of course, go ahead.
Sorry, can I just say one thing? I'm aware that this morning that the Creeslaw Community Association are officially opening their community links hub. So to wish them well. I was up Donegal last week and I met the local priest there. So just, I know that's an ongoing situation there. Just want to wish them well this morning. Yes,
lovely stuff, Lisa. Thank you very much indeed. Take care of yourself. That's Senator Lisa Chambers. And Hawaii 5-0 in the house this weekend, Leonard. You don't look a year over 55. I don't know what your secret is.
Life's been tough on me, Greg.
Happy birthday to you.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, take care of yourself. Cheers, Leonard Watson there. Okay, the news is going to be a couple of minutes late. My apologies.
The 9 till Noon Show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota. With over 45 years of experience. Trust us to help you on your electric journey.
On Business Matters this week, after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday, my guest is Eugene Gallen of ready meals company Bon Appetit, which is currently expanding into new premises.
Business Matters, in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. For a career in financial governance, consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services, starting in January. Contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie today.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Get up to 50% off all tiles. Wood flooring, bathware, cladding, everything's reduced. Tiles from only $8.99 per square yard and wood flooring from only $11.99 per square yard. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price January sale is now on.
Bryan Adams is back on tour in 2024. Join Highland Radio on our trip to Dublin to see the man himself at the 3 Arena on Tuesday the 21st of May 2024. Your trip includes luxury transfers, bed and breakfast at the 4-star Carlton Hotel Blanchardstown, your standing ticket to the show and a shopping trip to Dublin City Centre the following day. Find out more on the outlet at highlandradio.com or call us on 074 91 25,000.
iMotors are your main Nissan dealership in the Northwest, a trusted Japanese brand for generations. Contact iMotors to find out why people who make the move to Nissan never change. To check out our 2-for-1 offers, visit imotors.ie.
Last chance to enter the Donegal silage competition with Homeland and Nutrius Animal Feeds. Entries are closing soon, so hurry. Entry is free and includes 5 categories: dairy, beef, sheep, round bale and new entrant. First prize €300 vouchers, second prize €200 voucher in each category. For full entry details, visit homeland.ie. Closing date January 19.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The Transport Minister says the government is committed to deliver the 10T Road project. The infrastructure development has been in the offing for many years, with renewed calls for the need for the Bunagee Link Relief Road in Letterkenny to get off the ground. The 10T project is expected to come before Cabinet shortly, and Minister Eamon Ryan says funding for its delivery will be made available. The Minister is in Donegal today as part of a tour of local authorities across the country to discuss climate change plans. Speaking to Greg Hughes earlier, he admitted that Donegal has suffered greatly as a result of the lack of infrastructure in the county.
Donegal, more than anywhere else, we need better connectivity to Donegal and within Donegal. It is a county which has suffered from the kind of the isolation created by the border and the lack of rail infrastructure and other connectivity.
That full interview with Minister Ryan will be coming up shortly on the 9 till noon show. A new report has found the National Development Plan may have underestimated the level of investment needed to meet demand. The ESRI adds existing targets for housing supply might understate what's needed because of the increase in population which was recorded in the most recent census. It has called for the government to think creatively, but adds it faces a dilemma when it comes to investment in public infrastructure. ESRI Director Alan Barrett says increased investment in housing would slow down house prices in the long run.
If you build more houses,
you reduce the overall house prices. Okay, so you could get a first round inflationary effect, but the second round effect could actually be positive for inflation. So in the area of housing, we do see a sort of a slightly different trajectory, which does sort of suggest that maybe that is an area for increased investment.
Yemen's Houthis say strikes by the US and UK will not go without punishment or retaliation. The group's military spokesman says 5 fighters were killed while 6 were wounded. British and American troops launched missiles overnight in response to ongoing attacks on ships in the Red Sea. Samuel Romani, an expert on the Middle East, doesn't think things will escalate right away.
The Houthis also have launched attacks on maritime shipping, but they haven't really killed American military personnel. They haven't killed American or Western merchants. I don't think that we'd be looking at a large-scale war just yet, but I think that definitely the risk of an accident is increasing.
The government plans to extend the scope of apprentice programmes with almost 100 courses to choose from this year. 17 new apprenticeships are expected to come on stream in 2024, with civil engineering, firefighting and robotics just some of the disciplines added to the list. A record number of people signed up for trades last year, with over 8,700 registering. Minister for Further and Higher Education Simon Harris says there's a wide variety to choose from.
This will bring us to almost 100 apprenticeship programmes that will be available in Ireland. And these new courses will be in a whole variety of areas. For example, you'll be able to do an apprenticeship as a civil engineer. You'll be able to do an apprenticeship in robotics or in immersive technology or in social work or as a firefighter or as a paramedic, to name just a few. We're going to continue to keep a relentless focus on apprenticeships, on education and skills and on opportunities for all.
Gardaí in Donegal are reminding drivers that road safety should always be a priority. As part of a cross-border operation, Gardaí conducted a checkpoint in Lifford last night alongside the PSNI. Drivers are urged to always drive with care, slow down, wear a seatbelt regardless of where you travel, and never drive under the influence of alcohol and or drugs. A man arrested following a stabbing in Derry has been released. A man in his 20s was found at a property in the Hearn Way area of the city with stab wounds to his body and facial lacerations in the early hours of yesterday morning. The 27-year-old arrested has since been released on police bail pending further inquiries. Finally, in sport, Jim McGuinness has been successful in his appeal against a proposed 8-week suspension from Ulster GAA for fielding an ineligible player in the Dr McKenna Cup. A hearing took place on Thursday evening and the Donegal boss has been cleared to take his place on the line for this Sunday's semi-final against Monaghan. In a short press release, Donegal GAA said following a request by Jim McGuinness to the Ulster Hearings Committee, the county secretary has been informed that the alleged infraction was not proven and that no further disciplinary action is to be taken. Weather now, a mostly cloudy and dry day today with any frost and ice clearing this morning. There will be some limited bright or sunny spells with highest temperatures of 3 to 5 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Friday morning, January the 12th. The death has occurred of Stephen Love, Finnebeans, Donegal Town, reposing at his family home today from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock and tomorrow from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock. House private at all other times, please. Funeral service in Donegal Parish Church on Sunday afternoon at 2:30, followed by burial in the Glebe Cemetery, Donegal Town. The death has occurred of Ignatius Hearn, Nacy, St John's Point, Duncanely, reposing at his late residence today and tomorrow from 2 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Removal from there on Sunday going to St Mary's Church, Killymard for funeral mass at 2 o'clock with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. The death has taken place of Terry O'Neill, 3 Towncastle Road, Strabane, reposing at his home this evening from 6 o'clock. Funeral leaving his home on Sunday morning at 10 to 11 for Mass in the Sacred Heart Church, Derry Road at 11:30. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of niece Boner, Meanmore, Dunlow. Niece's remains will repose at McGlynn's funeral home today from 2 o'clock until Rosary at 8 o'clock and again tomorrow from 2 o'clock with removal at 7 o'clock going to St Columbus Church Acres for 7:30 where he will repose overnight. Funeral mass on Sunday morning at 11:30 with interment afterwards in Belcritch Cemetery. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Patrick McDade, Ned, Templemoyle, Culdaff. Patrick's remains are reposing at his home. Family time please from 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Funeral mass for Patrick will take place on Sunday morning at 10:30 in St Patrick's Church, Clay Malin, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, donations if desired to the ICU, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place in England of Catherine Jean McCorkle, formerly of Allenvale Crescent, Derry. Funeral will take place on Saturday week, January the 20th at Fawn Presbyterian Church at 1 o'clock, followed by burial in St Mura's Church of Ireland Graveyard, Fawn, house strictly private. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if wished to Chest, Heart and Stroke or Fawn Presbyterian Church. The death has taken place of Mary Patricia Logue, née Brown, Brecon Lee, Claudy, County Derry. Reposing at her daughter Rosemary Kerrigan's home, 510 Glenshane Road, with family time please from 10 o'clock tonight. Funeral from her daughter's home tomorrow morning at 10 to 10 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Killeen, Donamana, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please and donations if desired in lieu to Dementia NI, care of McLaughlin Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Rose Baxter, 59 Scrahy Road, Castlederg, reposing at her late home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Ahiarn, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. The house is private please to relatives and close neighbours. The death has taken place of Seamus McGee, Arden Skidore. His remains will repose at Rorty's funeral home in Derrybeg from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock today and tomorrow, with Rosary both nights at 8 o'clock. Removal to his late residence after the Rosary tomorrow, with the house strictly private please to family and close friends. Funeral Mass on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg, followed by interment in Maharagallon Cemetery. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu to Cree Stroke Foundation Ireland. The death has taken place of Mary Nichols, née McGonigal, Glencar Road, Letterkenny. Mary's remains will repose at her late residence today from 12 noon until 10 o'clock, with Rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there at 10:30 tomorrow morning, going to St Junan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in Cornwall Cemetery. Family time on the morning of the funeral please. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Margaret Halpin, née O'Donnell, 1 Westbrook Close, Buncrana, formerly Drummonderry. Funeral from her late residence this morning at 10:15, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only please, donations if desired to the Irish Kidney Association, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Caroline Stanley, Glenwood Park, Letterkenny, formerly of Cronford and Carrigard, house private please. Reposing at St Junan's Cathedral, with Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock this morning, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv, followed by private cremation in Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. No flowers please, donations if wished to the Donegal Hospice, care of Pascal Blake Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Archie Gallagher, 9 Linkside Park, Strabane, reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home tomorrow morning at 11:15 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live at melmountparish.com. The death has occurred of Mary Brawley, née McAleer, Hillhead, Castlefin. Funeral from her late residence this morning at 11:30 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Castlefin at 12 noon, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the Ernie Castlefin Parish Facebook page. Family time before the funeral this morning. And the death has taken place of Mary Agnes Foy, née McNulty, Whispering Pines, Balladerg, Letterkenny, formerly of Main Street, Stranorlar. Funeral from her late residence this afternoon at 12:15, going to St Junan's Cathedral, Letterkenny for 1 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv, followed by interment in St Mary's Church Cemetery, Shesho Neil Ballybuffet. Family time please before the funeral today. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Want to be the next big thing? Not on stage or screen, but on the shelves at Aldi. Our Grow with Aldi programme is now in its 7th year. It offers promising Irish producers a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to supply Aldi stores nationwide. It's great for our customers too, because they get to support local Irish suppliers and businesses. So go on, grow your fan base. Apply now and find out more at aldi.ie/grow. Applications close 26th of January. Aldi. Everyday Irish, everyday amazing.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Thank you so much to our guests in the first hour for their contributions, and we appreciate all your texts and comments which have been coming in as well over the course of the hour. Ireland needs a government that will listen to the people and uphold our Christian and democratic beliefs. We need to get rid of this dictatorship that we have now, says a listener. Another, the government sent a message in 59 languages inviting people to come into this country. Regarding the women's referendum and the definition of family, Niall Richmond, the Fine Gael TD, has even said that the change in definition of the family will make it easier for immigrants to come into the country and to bring non-family members. The video has been shared online and taken down and then put up again. He is right. The government are making it attractive for people to come to Ireland. They're getting housing and benefits, everything. I think that's what they would argue, the changes that they've made, to those policies to try and discourage. The government haven't got a clue, believes the listener. People are upset that people are coming into their towns. Another, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael will campaign separately and reunite when it comes to trying to form a government. Sure, there is little or no difference, believes that listener. That's very possible. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are two cheeks of the one bum. The same. They're not separate manifests. They don't make us. Don't make us all laugh. They're bedfellows now and joined at the hip. They will 100% go back into bed with each other, back each other to keep out the largest party in Ireland. Why don't they just disband Fine Gael and disband Fianna Fáil and start a new party? Stop trying to fool the public with the political grandstanding. Well, I think one of them, I can't remember which it is. I think it might have been Leo Varadkar, said that he would be happy to continue a rotating Taoiseach position in the next government. Every area should run an opposition campaign against all parties, believes the listener. The country has gone to the dogs. Who in their right mind would want to run this country of ours at the minute? Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have made it difficult for a new government to run the country right, leaving a mess behind them. You can't have an opinion anymore. Your class is right-wing. Whatever that means, can't give the working people of this country a fair pay rise, never mind anything else, can't address the cost of living crisis, for God's sake. Well, listen, just because there are some, as a defence, that might try and label points of view as far right, I wouldn't take that as the norm. I think outside of radio, TV, the Dáil, people are conversing with each other all of the time, and not far right per se. Is it still compulsory to be charged for bloods if you have a child with disabilities? The price used to be €10 for children and it's gone up to €20. €30 is the price now for bloods for adults. I think it depends on whether it's a medical card or a non-medical card. My understanding was that for bloods, if it was as part of if it was diagnostic or part of ongoing treatment, that it's supposed to be free, and that if it was just, we'll check your bloods to see the levels here, there and everywhere, you'd have to pay. But I thought, and I'm open to correction and I'll double check, I thought if it was for diagnostical purposes, diagnostic purposes, whatever the word is, or it was to diagnose something, or the ongoing treatment that it was free, and if it was just to get things checked, it wasn't. As I say, anyone out there that wants to correct me, please do. Paddy Rooney's 100% correct. We can't be hypocrites either. Areas of New York, Boston, Chicago all have large populations of Irish, and more recently Australia, and many, if not most, in America were not there legally. It's all swings and roundabouts. When this country was all wrapped up in the boom, we didn't mind the Polish, etc., coming in huge numbers to do jobs that Irish didn't want to do. Yeah, and I think really the concerns... It is a comparison, and then some would say it's not as a comparison. There are people who are concerned that the religious demographics, the racial demographics will change, that it's changing too quickly, and that would not necessarily be the case with lots of Irish going to America, because there'd be similar backgrounds. I'm not saying that's the case of making an argument one way or other, but that's why people sort of don't buy that argument that we travelled everywhere. They'd say we travelled and we worked and we paid our way and we didn't try and... there was no cultural imbalance because of our arrival. What nobody seems to be asking, says another listener, is why people are afraid. Who or what made them afraid of people coming to Ireland? It's a type of hysteria which has been artificially created. Now we can see some of the so-called leaders of this in Donegal attempting to profit from all the fear and panic they've created by asking women to pay them for lessons in self-defence. Any true community activist whose sole interest is protecting women, as they claim, would be offered to provide this as a service without charging women for it. Unfortunately, this is uncommon among the so-called leaders of fear-mongering. It's a well-established way to make money. Fear is how you control the population. The governments will often, or the media, people might feel, try and control people by fear. So therefore, it's not surprising that others also try and create influence through fear as well. Our country, says the listener, is overpopulated as it is. Our health service, when people have to go private for medical care, they need urgently. Our housing is under siege at present. What will it be like in 25 years? Mega problems, and yet we've no say or choice. Yet we have to help these poor people, and that's so important. Also, our government has a mega challenge, but it will need to sort out our own people first, with our housing crisis, our mica crumbling homes, our sick cancer patients that have to travel for proper care. I feel personally our own people are forgotten about and put to the back of the queue. This needs to be addressed. Hospital appointments are overlooked as the population's getting larger. Our government has mega problems ahead of it if not addressed soon. So we have to look at the bigger problem, do we? And this is just for a discussion point. At the moment, we have a 100% working population, i.e. pretty much anyone that wants a job has a job. The biggest issue we will have in housing delivery and infrastructural delivery is the people available to work to do that. So we're kind of at a standstill at the moment because we do not have the people to build all the houses that we need, and we don't have the people to build all the infrastructure we need. In terms of just Irish people, if you want to phrase it like that, we don't have enough Irish people to run the health service, for an example. That's why we rely on people coming into this country to work in the health service. So in other words, the health service might be buckling under pressure, but if it wasn't for people coming into the country to work in it, it would be of no, it would not be fit for purpose at all. So what do? We need more houses. We need more infrastructure. We need to spend the extra money the government has to spend, but we're at 100% capacity and we have skill shortages in terms of delivering what we need. So what do? We're at a crossroads here. Do we, like happened in the past, do we invite people in to work in these areas to build the houses? But then that's what people don't want because they believe that that's what's causing the pressure on housing to begin with. It is a classic catch-22. Hi, Greg. I was in Letterkenny on Wednesday. You think you were in a different country. It's Spot the Irishman now in his own country. Ireland is no longer Ireland. This country is finished, believes the listener. Hi, Greg. Will you tell your guests, Paddy especially, there are his three options, but the number one option on the immigrants is to build and invest in our own countries, give them their own in their own countries, give them their own self-determination to govern and prosper, flood them with the tools to do it. Indeed, but you know, the climate in this world, for whatever reason, maybe it's happening naturally or whatever, it's up to you to decide what you think. Millions upon millions of people around the globe are on the move for various reasons, millions and millions of them. A lot of the displacement is caused by wars and the actions of the West and Russia and elsewhere, but people are moving and they will continue to move What do you do about that? That's what Paddy's saying. That's the inevitability of it. There's nobody asking why Ukrainians going home for Christmas if they're fleeing from war. A lot of people I've spoken to weren't, that bothered by that. But anyway. If you look at Eastern European countries like Poland, the illegal immigration is nowhere near to what Ireland has. They are a lot more strict with their policies, deportations, and making sure there's no illegal border crossings. I'll check the stats on how many immigrants Poland has. It's a big number. Another, if we don't make a stand or take a stand immediately, we won't be able to in the future. It won't be enriching or multicultural if our politicians could actually see beyond their party policies, soundbite, and think on the country they grew up in. Imagine the voting that many taking place here in 30 or 40 years. It'll not be Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin, and I genuinely feel sorry for our grandchildren and their children. If you look at England, for an example, though, they have a very diverse population and have for generations and generations. Do you fear that Ireland could become England, or is England okay? I don't know. What do you think? The use of the phrase New Irish is a cop-out. This is not the US. Stop mixing illegal immigrants or migrants up too with legitimate immigrants. Give the people a referendum on the issue like Poland did. Okay. Right. Look at the time. We're going to take a break, and the rest of this hour pretty much is going to be us in conversation with Eamon Ryan. He's up in the county at the moment. He is, of course, the Minister for Environment, Climate, Communications, Transport and Green Party leader. It's a pre-recorded interview because I didn't want to do it on the phone. I wanted to sit down and sit face-to-face with him. In relation to the interview, at the end of the day, you can ask questions, and you might not be satisfied with the answers, or you may well be satisfied with the answers. But you ask questions, you get things on the record, and that's what it's all about. There's a lot of issues discussed. Traffic infrastructure, roads infrastructure in and around Letterkenny, housing, the what people see as flaws in the defective concrete block scheme, and so on and so forth. Okay, so stay with us. We're going to take a break for the bingo numbers and the ad break, and then we'll come back and we'll have a chat to Minister Eamon Ryan.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday, the 12th of January. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S10. It's game number 2. The numbers are 70, 2, 6, 69, 56, 35, 17, 77, 53, and finally 48. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Cartlana, Farignum Starula, Costner Rod Museum. Is few go mór rudí Starula. Mas féidir de agrucht curla heirecht na héiren, beidir gemacht tú cáliche diontas all fun guiste muirsrecht aireachta. Tá iirtish oscailtinis heritage-council.ie/funding. Let takecht on reintíochta realta seáitiúla agus aireachta.
The sale you have all been waiting for at Clare Clothing, Letterkenny. 2 days clearance, 50% off all winter stock this Friday and Saturday. Clare Clothing, Letterkenny.
New this week in Home Store and More. All artificial plants are all half price. That's right, all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price artificial plants are gone, they're gone. Also, all car accessories and all home gym equipment are still all half price. But when all the half price car accessories and all the half price home gym equipment are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, Port Road, Letterkenny. Stockists of a wide range of used passenger and commercial vehicles.
We're joined on the programme now by the Minister for Environment, Climate, Communications, Transport and the Green Party leader, Eamon Ryan. Minister Ryan, this is part of a tour, I suppose, of sorts that you are doing across the country, meeting with various local authorities.
Yeah, every local authority, every single one, and it's part of the local authorities have a key role in the meeting our climate change challenge. Donegal County Council has just published its own climate action plan. It was at public consultation just before Christmas. I hope the council will sign off on it next month, and it shows how we take action here in Donegal. And as part of this challenge that every country, every county, every community in the world is going to have to be involved in. And it's mainly for me a listening exercise. It's a chance as well to sit down with the councillors and whatever questions, whatever issues come up. But first and foremost for me, it's a chance to see and share thoughts. How do we make the switch? How do we switch away from using fossil fuels and have a better county, a better country?
Yeah, there are big things and then there are little things. And yesterday we were speaking to a gentleman who rang up the show, and for all the right reasons, he'd switched to electric. Now, I know this is only a small part of it. He switched to an electric vehicle and he's had it for 18 months. He loves the car, loves the way it drives and what have you, but he's thinking of switching back away from it because there is, as far as he would see it, insufficient network of chargers. Now, I've done interviews year after year about this investment in the charging network and that investment in the charging network, but just on one simple thing, maybe the most accessible thing for us to try and make a difference is to switch to electric vehicles. And then we've got someone with all the best intentions feels that they can't because we don't have the charging infrastructure. Do things like that worry you?
Yeah, we have to have the charging infrastructure to make sure that we can make the switch. It is happening. Electric vehicles are taking off. Towards the end of last year, slightly less than half of the new cars we were selling had a plug capability. So it is really happening, and it's only going to accelerate because they are better cars. They are cheaper to run. They have less moving parts. They don't break down as much. They're cleaner, quicker. They can use their own power. So about 80% of all charging is done at home. And that's a good thing. It actually suits us middle of the night when we've wind turbines turning.
But with respect, and I know you're 100% right, in our situation, if we need to go, say, for instance, to a hospital appointment in Sligo or Galway, right, we can charge fully at home, but then the range anxiety kicks in as to how we can charge in the way and how we can come back. And I'm not picking holes in electric cars. What I'm talking about is we need to start getting the simple things correct, i.e. that if people want to do as they see the right thing, they need to be helped by the government to do that.
Agreed. And that's why we're spending 100 billion euros to make sure we do have, starting this summer, we've already been starting in terms of national charging network. We had one of the first in the world, but we're going further this summer. We'll be going into about 250 sports clubs where we will be, so that's the opportunity if you're down at training or dropping the kids in to watch a match, you can charge at the same time. We also will be introducing a guaranteed system where in all the interurban roadway network you have sufficient charging infrastructure at the main carriageway, the petrol stations and so on. There'll be electric stations in the future. And so yes, we're spending that 100 million to make sure we do have the infrastructure. It is possible at the moment. I've used my own electric vehicle. I've been up and down the country top to bottom, and it can be done. But you're right, we do need to invest in further charging infrastructure, and we are.
Also, another way that we can sort of do our bit is to use public transport rather than any vehicle at all. Now, I know you will talk of Local Link and other services and further investment and all that type of stuff, and I get that. But in terms of a usable service, on this programme we often hear of people that they can't do everyday stuff. They can't get to work at 9. They can't get home from work. They can't get to university or college. I'm sure you're aware a lot of us now in this part of the world have to get treatment in Galway. You would know there's no public service that would get you from Donegal to a health appointment at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning in Galway. Letterkenny is a huge town. There's no town transport as such at all. So again, we have the messaging of we all need to do our bit, but again, this feels to me a little bit like a government failure to at least meet us halfway in doing some of that stuff.
We do have to do that, and this government particularly recognises investment in public transport is critical, and that's why we've changed the rules so that we're going to spend twice as much on new public transport over new roads.
But when will we see that up here? Because that sounds great on paper, but much of that could be built, could be sort of accounted for in one major Dublin project. Do you know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying that's the case, but when are we actually going to see that kind of investment where we actually feel it and live it here in the Northwest?
Well, we are seeing it. I mean, there has been a massive expansion in the Connecting Ireland rural bus services. We've been introducing a new or enhanced service every week for the last 2 years. The numbers of people on rural buses in the last year increased 115%. More than doubled in 1 year, including a whole range of services in Donegal, the likes of from Letterkenny down to Donegal town and beyond to Sligo town. We do need a town bus service for Letterkenny. I absolutely agree, and we will deliver it. There's a queue as long as my arm of towns looking for similar services, but Letterkenny's right up there at the top because it is such a significant, important regional town.
When might we see that?
In the next 2 to 3 years is my expectation.
Also, in terms of the climate message, the messaging, if you go on social media, any of the platforms, it's why electric cars are crap. It's about trying to disprove the climate crisis message and what have you. What surprises me is the government or the state bodies more in that space trying to sort of counter that point of view, because that is where a lot of the anti-climate change.
We're in that
I don't
space.
see it. I don't know where you're paying to put it, but
I'm out there on Twitter, on Instagram, and TikTok, and in every way trying to get the information out. I think there's a real issue. There is real disinformation online. Like there's real concentrated attempt by a lot of different actors to put out what is completely unscientific, untrue, fake news. You're better off listening to Highland Radio rather than believing some of the stuff you see online. It's not true. And it's not true in this way as well. It doesn't reflect real world people. Like people think, if you look at the stuff online, you think, God, the whole world.
So you think they're a noisy minority?
Yeah. I think there's a real difficulty in the online social media network systems that they do incentivize polarization, that they tend to feed people further of kind of opinions confirming their own existing opinion. But if you look at the scientific assessment of what do Irish people think, we did a really big survey, about 4,000 people interviewed right across the country. It was known as Climate Change in the Irish Mind. Vast majority, 90% recognise, climate change is real. We do need to respond to it. Only 3% were what you might call climate deniers. 3%. Now, you wouldn't know that if you're online. No. But the other point, if I can, just on it, which is critical, there wasn't any difference between rural and urban. There wasn't any difference between young and old, or rich or poor. Like, it's a human condition to want to protect the next generation, to want to create a safe environment for our children and their children to grow up. Mm-hmm. And that is common right across this country. When you scratch beneath the surface, people do have a concern for their future, particularly of their own children and families.
You talked about the spending ratio on road projects and transport. Is this government fully committed to the 10T Donegal project? We're told that it's likely to move to planning stage early this year. Is that the case?
Yeah, we are. And it's got a lot of European funding of our support office as well. But yeah, Donegal more than anywhere else, we need better connectivity to Donegal and within Donegal. It is a county which has suffered from the kind of the isolation created by the border and the lack of rail infrastructure and other connectivity. So absolutely yes.
So when is that likely to be funded for? So if it goes into the planning stage now, the last time I spoke to you, I don't believe it may have been the 2040 plan. I can't remember in what context we were talking. But at that point, it wasn't actually budgeted for. So will the money be there when the planning hurdles are overcome to proceed with it straight away?
Yeah, that would depend on the planning process. You can't,
of course, once that's completed.
You can't be certain about that. And a lot of our planning decisions are subject to judicial review, so that it can take several years to get through planning in our country, unfortunately. And that's a real issue. We have to look and see why is it that we have such a slow legal and planning system, and that's not in anyone's interest in my mind. But it's that sort of, once it's through, as you say, it goes due to go into planning second quarter this year, subject to it coming through there, then yes, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be funded.
Attached to that, this is a very local question, I understand that, but there's the Bonagee link. It's a relief road effectively, that's seen as vital in Letterkenny. It's been talked about for absolute generations. Would you be in favour of a development like that, or would you be more minded to spend money on public transport, getting people around a town like Letterkenny out of their car.
You need both. But relief roads and bypasses, and one of the reasons I'm supportive of the 10T, the Donegal Road projects, is they also include that capability of taking traffic out of the centre of towns, not just Letterkenny, but Ballypilface, Stranraer as well. And I think that's absolutely first priority. It's creating town centres which are really attractive places to live in, to shop in, to work in, to go to school, to go to college. And I think, and that you need both public transport and also to take some of the traffic out of the towns, you need that investment in the roads network.
People would see many issues with the defective concrete block scheme, but one area I'd particularly be interested in your views. The scheme sets out that defective concrete block homeowners must rebuild their houses to 2008 standards. That's at odds to what you would want, I'm sure. It's at odds to the government's policies regarding environmental and efficiency measures. As a Green Party leader, as a key member of government, how could you have signed off on that? How could you stand over a scheme that differentiates the people of Donegal to everywhere else in the country, that we are being forced to rebuild our houses to old standards?
No, it doesn't. It treats Donegal householders just like every other member of the country. And actually, maybe there's an opportunity here that at the time we're doing up the houses, that we can and will put in and avail of all the grants that are available from SCAI. But why would we need...
No, that's if your house is built before 2011.
Yes, because... But
if I built my house in 2012, through no fault of my own, it starts to crumble around my ears. You have signed off on a scheme that makes me build that house to 2008 standards and excludes me from being able to get a grant to build it to modern standards.
We're working with SCAI, the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, and they are due to come out shortly in this month, next month, with specific proposals on how we apply the grants to houses which have suffered from the defective concrete blocks. And so there will be some flexibility there. It's not
but I think that, as you would know, the stress and anxiety that these homeowners have been and are going through, why would we rebuild houses in the first instance to 2008 standards and then start talking about flexibility with SEAI grants? That doesn't make any sense. Can you make sense of it for me as to why it was decided to build new houses to old standards in 2024, especially in the context of everything we've talked to up until now?
Because the fundamental justice here was to bring houses back to the proper standard that they were built with. It wasn't to necessarily allow for what they might call betterment, where you'd kind of build a bigger...
This is about the environment, Minister.
Yeah, and absolutely. And we're fully supportive and provide very extensive grants to allow people to put the likes of heat pumps or solar panels in.
You think it's logical, do you? You think it was logical to not take an opportunity to help the public to upgrade their houses to modern standards?
We're going to do everything to make sure that the people do have that opportunity and that there is significant supports and grants provided, and it will be significantly cheaper and better, and we'll work with SCAI to put in specific proposals to help households do that.
Can I put it to you that then we'll get rid of the 2011 nonsensical pre-2011 nonsensical rule and streamline it so grants...
The reason for those 2011 rules more widely than across the rest of the country is because any houses after 2011 will effectively be built to the standards that you don't necessarily need the level of supports. But if there are any instances due particularly to the mica issues and that houses are excluded or in some way disadvantaged from that, of course we'll look at that. But
what does that mean, we'll look at it though, Minister? I just want to try and give some certainty to people, okay? Because people are incredibly stressed and upset and at their wits' end, okay? So what does we will look at it look like?
The Authority of Ireland are coming out in the coming weeks, months, with a specific mechanism that we will deal with households which have been gone through the whole mica need for to be rebuilt, so that the grant and other supports apply in a way that's fair there as well. The numbers are likely to be very small in that regard in terms of the number of houses post 2012, as you said, post the building standards there. But there is sufficient flexibility in the existing scheme. I think the Department of Housing, we were and are supportive of the way that they've managed 100% grant or fully funded retrofitting or bringing buildings back to the proper state. And we will work collaboratively with the Department of Housing and Local Government and with Donegal County Council to make sure that the scheme does work for everyone.
In terms of Donegal County Council, they issued e-tenders seeking contractors to to express interest in rebuilding defective social homes. Those are to modern standards. So why are council houses different to private houses?
They're different. One is owned by the public and one is owned by individual householders. So this is still... And you think that justifies the different treatment? Well, obviously, the state has to make a decision itself on how it invests in its own housing stock. I'm going around to say to every council in the country, what I'm saying to every council is the same one I'll say to the Donegal Council. We need to do up every house, every single house, particularly the social housing stock. We need to retrofit every single one of them, and we're doing it in a systematic way. We spent 85 million euros last year in houses, council houses right across the country. We need to do every single one, and we as the state have a particular responsibility in that regard. That's why we're taking that approach.
Just in relation to those e-tenders, they didn't include foundations. Now, there is growing evidence that pyrrhotite will affect and is affecting foundations. Do you think it's a wise spend of public money to be rebuilding houses on what may well turn out to be, and the science is pointing ever more to it, defective foundations?
Well, what the Department of Housing and Local Government has done is absolutely following the science and assessing, as I understand, a number of different properties are looking to see, as we start doing this, to make sure that, is that an issue around foundations? And it's on the basis of that science that, yes, as I said, there has to be flexibility here, that we have to look and see what's the real circumstances in terms of foundations, and they will assess that on a scientific, independent, with oversight basis. So that's the best way to tackle that issue.
Just on a national issue, well, it's not a national issue, it's local and national in terms of immigration. We saw recently two that have been framed as U-terms by government, two areas of housing, two housing units that were earmarked initially for male applicants, and then overnight, effectively, after protests were launched. Now, I'm not saying the timing is what led to it. All of a sudden, it was families. Now, I've listened to many ministers at this point that say, no, we didn't change our mind because of public outrage or representations from local TDs and what have you. We just decided in that really tiny short period between issuing a letter of intent and then making a further announcement that our priority now was women and children. I accept that is the national policy, but is it fair that the government with a straight face is trying to tell people that the protests and local representations are not adjusting the thinking in how we're using this accommodation? You're an honest man.
Of course
do you stand by that?
Of course you do. Well, first, on the first issue in terms of why was it that we ended up putting families in rather than single males in those two facilities, it was because in the preceding days, and this is day by day, people come into the country, we need to start accommodating them the next day. And it actually changes day by day who's coming in. And so the team in charge here have an issue. I said, I've got these whole lot of families and I don't have somewhere to put them. Okay, I'll put them in there. And it's literally that level because we're at such a challenged position.
And you're saying that with your hand on your heart, that this was nothing. And freedom of information or whatever will never reveal that actually they said, you know what? This is going to not go down very well. We're going to put families in there instead and find somewhere else.
No, we're not going to. Well, firstly, we can't. I mean, yes, we listen to protests. Of course you do. You're very attentive in politics, Irish politics particularly, as to what people think on the ground, and really sensitive. Listening is the first most important skill in politics. But we have to be careful here. We as a country believe in the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights. We have to stand up for playing our part in a world, a real troubled world, of providing refuge where it's appropriate, only where it's appropriate. We do not shut down, close the country and say, sorry, Ireland's full, we're not going to do anything in terms of support for international refuge. But that is an important first principle. The second principle from that is, we cannot have a country where we say, I'm going to blockade this accommodation, or I'm going to burn this accommodation down if you don't do what we want. That way lies anarchy and madness, and actually a complete reversal from all the values that I think the Irish people do hold dear. So, and yes, we manage this is really difficult for government and for local government and all the agencies, but we do it in a way which is very much listening to our people to try and make sure there's not any one community particularly disadvantaged. But heeding some, come back to that online messages earlier on which you have on climate, it's the same on issue on refugees. A lot of disinformation, a lot of fear mongering, a lot of depicting men as a fundamental problem. problem, and refuge is something that we cannot provide. We have to manage it. Sure. There are limits. But saying we do nothing is not right.
Just a couple of quick questions. Fair. Do you believe Israel is guilty of genocide in the Middle East at the moment?
I think I'd be interested to see what the judgment is. But I spoke the other day. One thing that seems to me irrefutable, and I was reading the case being made by the South African government. If you look at what the World Food Programme is saying at the moment, that all the 2.2 million people in Gaza are an immediate risk of starvation. Some 600,000 are actually, it's an acute, they don't have food. And that first and foremost, unless this war stops, desists immediately, those people are at risk. And that by any stretch of the imagination.
Do you think we should ensure we're, as a people, because you were elected and make decisions on behalf of the people, do you think that we should be more supportive of South Africa in their measures? Because the language at the moment is like, well, we don't know what a genocide is, or is it? I mean, what we're seeing is horrendous.
I think the Irish government, like the Irish people, I think have probably one of the leading voices, certainly within the European Union and internationally.
But why are we not going further? Is it because we don't want to upset Europe? We don't want to upset the Americans?
No, not at all. We've consistently taken a position that might be difficult for some of our American or European colleagues. It is a South African case to take. There's no other country specifically joined them in it.
Do you believe, just finally on that then, just clearly, do you believe Israel is engaging in genocide?
I believe that what the UN World Food Programme and what the UN High Commission for Human Rights is saying is absolutely true, that unless there's an immediate response, you're saying they're on the brink of it? I think they have. But they're not there. No, I think what is happening in Gaza is an absolute tragedy.
But is it genocide? I just want you to address that word specifically. I'm not
going to first of all answer the kind of court hearing in terms of...
No,
that's the way the judges make that in terms of that technical assessment. But absolutely the Irish government and our own party and others have made it clear where we stand and what we believe is, while the original, obviously, attacks on the 7th of October were absolutely horrific to be deplored, the response is not commensurate. It is putting the lives of innocent women and children and men and families right across Gaza and in the West Bank at absolute peril. It has to stop today.
There's so much we could get through, but I have one last question. Obviously, the local elections are upcoming. How many Green Party councillors do you think you may be able to, or you might try and return in Donegal?
We want to return in every single county. That's my first objective, is to make sure we do have representative, and I'm very confident that we can and will do that. We've about 105 candidates selected already right around the country, really good candidates, and I think 5 months is a long time to an election, but we'll go with a proud record of delivering in central government, in Europe and in local government, and looking to extend that further in the next local elections.
And very finally, every time that you fly somewhere, Minister Ryan, people go, why should I stop doing this, that and that? Because that man's never out of an aeroplane. At one point, you were going to fly back from and back out to the UAE. People want the government to stop practicing what they're preaching. I think that's a problem with the climate crisis messaging, that users seem to be living a different life to us.
Yeah, but you can't work on a political level in some instances if you're not in the room. You do need to be present to be able to influence international global events. And we, our country, more than anything else, is open and engaged with the world. But can I say this? We will not deliver the climate change leap we need to make if it's pointing the finger at people, blaming people, saying, are you doing the right thing there in any one individual act? Our job in Donegal County Council, in government and in Europe and beyond, is to change the system towards a better way, which is both more socially just as well as more secure and more cost-effective economic. And that change requires political leadership, which we are providing. It doesn't work if it's all the weight of the world is put on the individual, of the household or of the individual, in terms of what they are doing. So yes, I fly to some of these work that you have to do for government. Yes, other people do all sorts of things but we will change the way the aviation works the same way we change every other sector. It's by system change we will tackle climate change, not by putting the blame on the individual.
Minister for the Environment, Climate, Communications, Transport and Green Party leader Eamon Ryan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till Noon Show, brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, where you can care for your car with Toyota Relax, giving you a year's warranty with your service. Terms and conditions apply.
January Super Savers at Homeland. Willow Warm Briquettes. Buy 5 bales, get 1 free. 5 kg Wild Bird Peanuts. Buy 2 for $25.99. Save 25% off all Dulux Ready Mix Colour Emulsion. Regatta Clothing. Save 20% across all lines. Shop all offers in-store and online at homeland.ie. Offers available until January 21st.
Despite low temperatures and high energy costs, it's important everyone stays warm and well through the colder months. It's also important to understand that saving energy where possible saves money and helps reduce the impact on our climate. Simple steps can make a big difference, like turning down the thermostat by 1 degree, limiting the use of high energy appliances like tumble dryers, or ensuring we don't heat rooms that aren't in use. Government is playing its part too, making a range of supports available to help ease the burden on families across the country. For support and advice, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Hands off our land. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
The new IFA president has vowed to fight the confiscation of farmers' land. Board B, a QA proposal, tells farmers who they should buy cattle from. Taoiseach vows to resolve VAT issues and TAMS grants. Minister backtracks on acres payments. Plus, don't miss our top tax-saving tips that could save you thousands, including farmer case studies and advice on how to minimise your revenue bill.
Only inside the Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
Mr. Blue Sky. Saturday's Lotto jackpot is an estimated €12.5 million. So, what's the first thing you'd do at €12.5 million? That is genius. Better get a ticket soon. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
Okay, so there you have it. That was our chat with Eamon Ryan. In terms of answers, I'm not sure what we got there. As it relates to the defective concrete block situation, that's the government stance as it stands. So we'll see what the MAG Group and others think of that. Some sort of a timeline and a commitment to funding of the 10T project in Donegal and the Bonagee link, and then justification for flying around the world whilst we can't burn turf or sell turf, you know. So, as I say, there you have it. That's what we have. The reason the government want to build to 2008 standards is because it would be a fraction of the cost of the standards of today's building standards. They're saving money. Eamon Ryan dodged the question, as he always does. But then they say, well, there is other grants for SEAI that will sort of make up the difference. But it's why do it differently? I just want to thank Minister Ryan for giving the go-ahead for a railway here in Letterkenny. That is, if he's telling the truth, will the railway go from Donegal to Derry and to Sligo? Greg, why not interview Eamon Ryan the way you interviewed Charlie McConalogue? He got away easy. I don't think he got away easy. I could ask the questions a number of times. He gave his responses. I don't believe I ever gave Charlie McConalogue an unfair interview when I interviewed the minister at that time. It was when a scheme was about to be announced. There was a great deal of concern and uncertainty about that scheme. It was of the time, just as it was about to be announced. And I stand over all of those interviews and believe I was fair. And when you are deemed to be unfair to be asking questions about government policy, I mean, where do you go from there in terms of accountability, or me trying to hold people to account? There's a big difference between Eamon Ryan coming up here and cabinet ministers from within the county voting on a system that their constituents have issues with, and I put the questions of their constituents to the person making the decision. That's that. I don't see anything unfair about that. How could that be unfair? And as I say, nothing's been deleted. All those interviews are there. Anyone wants to listen to them back, I stand over them 100%. Hi, I'm listening to your show. No harm. Is he saying we have no right to or say about our country and county? Is he saying that's how it will we will lose our cultural identity? This is in relation to Paddy Rooney's comments. Next election, people should reject the current government. Our people fought and died for our right. Say we are Irish and this is Ireland. So we do have rights. The only one thing I would say is there's been a pattern of people voting for alternative parties, and I'm not saying this is how we should or shouldn't vote, just an observation, in other countries, and them sort of lasting one term and then reverting back to something of the status quo previously. I don't know what that's about, but it does seem to happen. A caller goes on to say, always pandering to Europe is what the current Irish government do. Losing fishing grounds, housing crisis, and now the current migration problems. It's time we left this useless European Union. The government tells the facts to suit themselves. People don't believe a thing they say anymore. The only one thing I'd say about leaving the European Union, well, not a big EU fan necessarily, but that's what the British were told, that they would vote to leave the European Union and take back control. They're going to lose close on $500 billion, up by, according to their own figures, up to 2035 as a result of that. They wanted to take back control of the borders. They haven't. And then what it meant is that expats, they call them expats. They're not immigrants or immigrants. They're expats. Do you notice the different language? So if you're white and English and you go to live in Spain or Portugal and not speak their language, speak your own language and all that kind of stuff, you're an expatriate. But if it's in reverse, you're an immigrant. You're an immigrant, unvetted or something along those lines. It didn't work for them. They just had to come home. They just leave their holiday homes in Europe. And also the NHS is still on its knees and people are still coming in their tens of thousands illegally. So leaving Europe in and of itself didn't seem to fix the problems for the British. What are airplanes doing in the sky if they're so concerned about climate change? We're doing everything that we can regarding climate change. How are planes cutting back on emissions? We're always talking about electric cars. You have to be well off to afford them. The new LED lights are a problem. I can't see when I'm driving at night. It's okay for the driver with LED lights as he can see well, but he's blinding others. What will Eamon Ryan do about this? Well, I think it's about 2 or 3% of emissions air traffic is responsible for, and Ryanair would say they're trying to make them more efficient. But I don't think that was your point, and I appreciate your time.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock on the button. Time for a news update, and it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Health services in the Northwest are once again urging people to consider all care options as emergency departments face sustained pressure. It comes as one medical practice in Letterkenny warns that Donegal has the highest level of flu cases in the entire Sealta Healthcare group. Scully McDaid Rorty Medical Practice says the county, on the other hand, has the lowest flu vaccine uptake in the region. In a statement, Sealta says flu cases have increased by 39% in the space of 2 weeks, and COVID-19 continues to circulate at high levels. The Transport Minister says the government is committed to deliver the 10T Road project. The infrastructure development has been in the offing for many years, with renewed calls for the need for the Bunagee Link Relief Road in Letterkenny to get off the ground. Minister Eamon Ryan is in Donegal today as part of a tour of local authorities across the country to discuss climate change plans. It's believed 8 people who arrived in Ireland on a shipping container this week have now left an accommodation centre in Dublin. They were among 14 people who were discovered in a refrigerated container that arrived into Rosslare from Belgium. They were subsequently transferred to City West in Dublin for their cases to be processed. A tax on the construction of new commercial buildings is being suggested as a way to direct more funding and labour towards the building of homes. A new ESRI report has found the National Development Plan has underestimated the level of investment needed to meet challenges faced by the likes of housing as well as health and climate change. Public Expenditure Minister Paschal Donohoe has welcomed the report, saying he will consider it in the context of updating ceilings of the plan across various sectors. Donegal is to receive a €450,000 share of €6.2 million in CLAR funding announced today. 9 projects in the county will each receive €50,000. The funding will go towards developing a sensory garden by the Lahey Development Committee, re-roofing a men's shed workshop in Portneuf, and enhancing an existing woodland walk in Rathmullen. Finally, in sport, Jim McGuinness has been successful in his appeal against a proposed 8-week suspension from Ulster GAA for fielding an ineligible player in the Dr McKenna Cup. A hearing took place on Thursday evening, and the Donegal boss has been cleared to take his place on the line for this Sunday's semi-final against Monaghan. In a short press release, Donegal GAA said following a request by Jim McGuinness to the Ulster Hearings Committee, the County Secretary has been informed that the alleged infraction was not proven and that no further disciplinary action is to be taken. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Michaela, thank you very much indeed. Fionnuala and Michael, they're back together for That's Entertainment. That's coming up after a break. Stay right where you are.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota Port Road, Letterkenny. Home to a wide range of Toyota commercial vehicles. Your perfect business partner.
Enter the Virgin Media Playhouse for unbelievable value from Ireland's best broadband. Get 500 meg super fast, reliable broadband for just €35 a month for 12 months. And no activation fee when you act now. Switch in-store or at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. Subject to location and availability. New customers only. 12-month contract. 500 meg broadband. €70 thereafter. Ireland's best broadband awarded by Umlaut. See virginmedia.ie/proof.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See McGee's.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
Uno, dos, tres. A hain, a do, a tree. 1, 2, 3. The Arona, the Ateca and the Tarraco. 3 great SUVs from Seat. And when you order now, you can enjoy 3 years free tyre insurance and 3 years roadside assistance. Plus 3 flexible payment options to purchase your new Seat. Visit seat.ie to discover even more of our fantastic offers. Great things come in threes at DMG Motors Donegal Town. And while I have 3 seconds, allow me to say that yes, terms and conditions apply.
I saw your Be Good baker running by again the other day, says I to old Mr. Brennan. Ah, yes, says he. I've never seen her stand still. And she's running rings around the rest of us with our Brennan's Be Good bread. Only 60 calories a slice. 60 calories, says I. That's just a whole meal, is it? No, says he, it's the whole meal, the whole grain and the white. 60 calories a slice and high in fibre, whatever way you slice it. That's why anything baked is better with Brennan's. Today's bread today.
Backstage Bar and Grill is open for breakfast, lunch and dinner 7 days a week. If you're looking for healthy options this January, we have a great selection of delicious salads, sandwiches and more. Call Century Complex on 074 91 219 76 to book your table. Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A Triple+ rated Airona air-to-water heat pump and Uflex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
And apologies, we are one ad behind because of that extensive interview with Eamon Ryan. But I can tell you a mostly cloudy and dry day today with any frost and ice clearing through the morning. There'll be some limited bright or sunny spells. Highest temperatures of 3 to 5 degrees. That's entertainment, and it's a big welcome back to Fionnuala Rabbit. Hi, Fionnuala.
Hi,
good to have you
you
back. Is this you back now?
Yeah, no.
Okay,
this
you're
is
not going to keep going back and forth. We have you now. This is the team's back together again.
Yeah, no, it should hopefully now. Okay. That's it now. I'm over the. As I said, I was out sick there. I had a little bit of breast cancer that I had to deal with, which is all done and dusted now, thank God, over and finished. So it's just full steam ahead now for 2024.
Brilliant stuff, and it's really genuinely fantastic, not just to have you back on this item, but to have you back at Highland Radio, because we all did miss you.
I'm sure.
Although really, Michael, as you might imagine, she's never too far away.
No, yeah.
Never stopped emailing, never stopped
texting,
calling.
Give it out.
Protestations from within and
Greg,
not just outside the family as well as the bloody station.
Even when she was...
Put the phone down, Fionnuala.
Even when we were separated by miles, still Fionnuala was critical of all my TV choices by text messages.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, there you go.
So you see. Keep you on the right track.
Yeah.
Fool me once. I finished it last night. Thank God. Do you know when you're just so glad something you're watching is over?
Because it's so good.
It was on my list for the weekend.
Yeah, and I'm not saying don't watch it. You'll probably love. Did you enjoy The Stranger?
Yeah, but it was the same thing with The Stranger, though. It was kind of like, at the end of it, I did not enjoy it, but
it's so British. It's like, it's really well made. Michelle Keegan's lovely in it. She's a good actress. Joanna Lumley is good in it as well. She's not in it much, really, if the truth be told. It's just that everyone's a suspect, and then as you go through it, you know, they weed it all out, and then twists and turns.
But isn't that
too many?
every murder mystery?
It's particularly, you would never see this in an American-made program. There's just too many red herrings. Now, they don't leave any of them hanging. They cover a lot of it, and they cover all the bases, and it's fine. But you know how, your thumbs down, like it, love it. I went like it because it engaged me, right? But I don't know.
You weren't enthused.
I just don't think it's as good as everyone's saying.
Okay.
Fashion-wise, Michelle Keegan, she wears some lovely clothes, so... she's got this particular jacket, right? She's got this particular jacket. It's a beautiful grey, white kind of a tweed, but it's like a waisted jacket, if you know what I mean, but it's a long coat. So it's like a jacket to the hips and then frays out.
That's a bit like
going to... a huge sale on them, you can be sure of that.
That's like seeing a play and saying, my God, the seats were so comfortable.
I just think there's going to be a big rush to buy lots of stuff that she was wearing. Not from me, but I'm just saying I am.
Well, you're probably right, though, a lot about it, because you think about it, Harlan Coben is an American writer, and he's been around for years. I mean, I've read all of his stuff. I love his stuff.
I'm intrigued for you to watch it, though, Fionnuala. I really want you to.
I'll watch it the weekend now, because it is on my list for the weekend. I was going to kind of hunker down with the fire bag. So
we have a busy weekend.
I don't know how to light the fire. I watch telly programs, not like you. Busy.
Sorry, you actually, for the coziness, fire bags. You're the person buys them.
I don't know how to light a fire. It's beyond my ability, which I don't like to say that about anything, but I have given up on fires. Even my son-in-law over the Christmas, he had to light the fire every day. It's like, no, I can't do it. But Harlan Coben, as I said, has written numerous books, and I loved them, and I've always loved his books, and I always wondered why they didn't make anything out of it, because for years the only thing that they did was they were picked up by a lot of French. There was a lot of French editions of it, and the French edition movies of his books and that kind of thing. I could never understand why the Americans never did anything with it, because you saw so many other stuff coming out, and now it's like as if UTV or somebody has bought his back catalogue and they're making them all. You know, you had Stay Close, The Strangers. There's a few of them that have come out like that, and it's maybe you're right. Maybe the Americans just can't handle the amount of...
It's fine.
There's a lot of people in them.
Do you know when you watch it, like you watch it and there's nothing bad? Do you know what I mean? It's not. There's nothing bad in it, and the acting's good, and it's well put together. It's just this. Is it that? Is it this? It's the other. I think some people love it. For me, I've never really gotten that. I think you like that kind of stuff.
Murder mystery stuff, yeah.
But where there's lots of different outs.
Yeah, of course.
So they don't just do a twist. They just fire 7 or 8 things at you. It could be one of them, or it might be none of them. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, as I say, it's a well-structured story. It does fundamentally make sense, which is really, I have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I'm satisfied now. But it was like a 6 out of 10 for me. Listeners, I know more and more of you, already many of you had watched it last week, more and more of you watched it this week. It is the talk of the water cooler, so to speak, 086 60 25,000. And if Fionnuala follows through with her commitment to watch it this week, look forward to what she has to say next week. But the probably the only programme to pip that in terms of conversation, and certainly in terms of driving agendas far beyond the small screen, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. You're in it. Have you watched it? Is it on the list?
To be honest, I ended up watching the whole lot of it in one go.
That's what everyone seems to be saying.
Because it was very hard to walk away from it. This is a story that I didn't really know anything about. It wasn't something, sometimes these things come up and you have a vague recollection of reading something about them, and it's a true story. You kind of have a small bit of knowledge. But actually, I had no knowledge of this whatsoever. I don't recall ever seeing it anywhere. And to be honest, that is too... I should kind of slap myself on the wrist for that, because even though it didn't happen in this country, it could happen in this country, it could happen anywhere, and it could happen in any industry. And I would imagine that this could end up being something that we hear about in different industries where it's come up. For anybody that hasn't seen anything on it, basically the story of it is back in the early noughties, a number of postmasters and sub-postmasters. So this is like people in small little villages that had like the little cafe, and the post office is basically that little squared off corner in the corner of your either local shop, the local cafe, little things like that, and just little villages all over the place. So it's not talking about now like a big, the GPO type situations or anything like that. It's more the small little village post office. But a number of them found themselves in a situation was when they were totting up at the end of the day that they found that the till wasn't, for lay words, that the till wasn't working out. And it turned out that in their contract they had stated that they would put the money in, so that they were responsible for any monies that were out. Now, you'd say to yourself, that's all right if it's €1 here or £1 there and £1 there. But this ended up being thousands and thousands and thousands of euros. There was people who had to remortgage their houses. There was people that had to, borrow from family and friends. And the whole time through it, what happened was that if you went and argued that you didn't understand what was going on, the post office were reluctant to send anybody out, and they just kept saying, well, the computer says you owe this money. The computer says these were people, as I said, that were living in their communities that weren't necessarily tech savvy. It was the early 2000s. There was a lot of them would have been older people. There was a lot of them that, didn't really have any kind of technical expertise in this area. This was all new to them, They had other people that were dealing with that for them in their own businesses and that. And also, these were very high-standing members of the community. So when they went to fight these things, eventually, if they didn't pay the money, they were fired from their positions, and a lot of them were prosecuted.
And we spoke to a lady just on the Donegal-Derry border there during the week. €6,000 just apparently went missing. And she just escaped prosecution, but she was very intimidated, brought into a room with 4 guys and says, you've done really bad here, blah, 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 blah. It destroyed the business in the end, and she had to leave the business. But the worst is and because I questioned and asked her the question, disadvantaged having not watched the programme, like, did no one say, this is happening to so many people that individually all of these, but it was being siloed. People were being told, no, it's only you, you're the problem, which
this is exactly what happened.
It was disgusting.
Well, now, obviously, it's a drama, and I'm assuming that there was some license taken.
Well, she said it really was spot on, actually, not contradicting you.
Yeah, no, look, as I said, I'm only saying it just in the sense of, when people are trying to do a drama, obviously, they're trying to hit home. Yeah. Now, there has been a lot of commentary to say how correct it was in that, but it's absolutely frightening if that's true. I mean, there was a gentleman that worked for the union for the sub-post office people. He went into Fujitsu, which was the name of the company that actually ran the computer system, and apparently he was, according to the drama, he was shown, brought into a room with a load of tech guys who were working in the background of it, and they showed him that you could actually manipulate and change figures. And when he left there, after they'd been told that there was no way for anybody to log onto your individual computer, there was no back entrance in, which is unusual, to say the least. If anybody works in computers would know, usually the manufacturers have access. But they were told there's no way anybody else could, so therefore any errors that were happening had to be the individual's person. But he saw this, and when he got home, the post office auditors were there, and it turned out that his wife had made a mistake, and she ended up almost going to jail. That she had been there during the day, which gave a very big sense, and the kind of feeling from the television program was that they had been set up. This is the way that it sort of looked. But it seemed to have been unbelievable. There was just a denial within the post office that there could be any issue. There's a massive cover-up. Then the person that was leading the post office received an honours from the Queen, which really kind of got up everybody.
She handed that back this week.
It's just been unbelievable to be seeing it. Over 1 million people signed a petition after the
and then
drama.
she handed it back rather than being ripped from her. So isn't it say something too, though, that it takes a drama, albeit very well made, to trigger this the expedience? In other words, she's lost her honour. The government have now committed and laid out a figure for quashing sentences and compensation. It's scary, isn't it? Because I did see a little bit of it, but for me it was just the post office scandal, and it didn't grab my attention. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, and
so it was there, but I couldn't have explained it to you in a few sentences.
I know, absolutely, and it is
two.
quite complex, and it is and it's interesting because and obviously I suppose as well it happened in another country per se. You know what I mean? It's not on plus that the issue is in. But I think what's interesting about it, and I was listening to other stuff afterwards where a lot of journalists were talking about it. I mean, a lot of journalists, the first main story that came out about it was in 2009. And at that point, it had been going on for a few years, and there had been people that were contacting the post office. There was people that were contacting government, contacting their local MPs, but it took until 2009 before it actually was brought to a head. It went on then until 2019 when they finally had the case, which was the main case in which they received some compensation from the post office, but where 500 sub-post office postmasters came together. So that was over 10 years that took in order for it to do it, and now it's still going on now.
Crazy. So what would you give the show out of 10?
I have to say it was an unbelievable thing to be. Yeah. If as a program, even in itself, even if it wasn't a true story and you didn't realise that these
and
were
then it didn't have the cultural impact, yeah.
I definitely really enjoyed it. It's very well done, very well made. I would definitely be giving it a 9 or a 10. I sat down and watched the whole lot together.
I'll have it watched by the weekend. It's over.
It's a very interesting story, and as I said, the idea that this government body could just keep saying, or any big organisation could just keep saying to people, no, it's only you that has that issue, and that they could just go, no, the computer said, as one of the journalists was saying on it, I think it was Ian Hislop, and he was like going, it's like as if they just took an attitude. The computer says no, like from the little bit, and that was it.
But who was covering themselves and the damage caused to other people? Caller says, Mr. Bates, best programme I've watched in a long time. Another says, a friend recommended that I watched Succession. However, it is boring the pants off me. Should I persevere or just bin it? I think it's a kind of a show that it's for you or isn't for you, maybe. If it's not grabbing them by the... You know what's in it, maybe, but how far in are you? It depends how deep they're in. If you're in more than 3 episodes and you're not enjoying it, don't waste your time.
Well, that's what happened to me, and everyone says to me, "Oh, you'd love it," and I literally got about 4 episodes in, and I was like, "This." You
bend it. Okay.
I never went back to it.
All right, okay.
I know, and everyone says you should totally watch it. You love it, and I'm like, oh, can I?
I know exactly what you're saying. All right, we're going to hear Michael's reviews and more from Fionnuala next. But let's. By the way, the Secret Sound went this morning. For those of you who missed it, a lady whose name escapes me at the moment. In fact, it escaped me at the time. I never knew her name. Well, she rang in. And it is, if I'm correct, if you go into a calf, the little jams that you get, or marmalades, the little white things.
The twisty pop.
No, you pull the, you can't grab the corner and then you go, well, that's what I do anyway.
Yeah.
So it was ripping the lid off one of those, and she's won almost €3,000. Did you know about that?
I did not.
I'll wipe the smile off your face.
In fairness, although I'm delighted it's gone.
I know.
I admire people that come up with those ideas.
Well, I think that one was Katie.
Some of the people that come up with it, but not the people that come up with the actual secret sound for him to put out. That's just torturous. I mean, it's awful. I mean, but who would even think that that's what it might be?
Well, I was sure I knew what it was. But do you know the funny thing is and Lee will put the video up later, when you, as she was saying what it was and as I was listening to it, the sound dropped for me. It was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it was. There was one where it was him switching off his radiator, and every bloody radiator sounds different. Someone got that as well. I'm surprised this didn't happen sooner. But the clues were, it could go under your hat and in your pocket. That's what the clues like, you know?
How is that helpful?
I'm probably going to have to field a lot of the abuse on this because I'm probably one of the more active on social media. But anyway, good fun. That lady has almost $3,000 going into the bank account. Beg your pardon? Stella, was it? Okay, excellent. Well, maybe she'll have a pint of Stella to celebrate. Okay, we'll be back with more after a break in about 3 minutes 50.
Noon Show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, where you can now test drive the new Toyota CHR, combining standout styling, an engaging drive and class-leading efficiency.
Hello, this is Liz O'Donnell, Chairperson of the Road Safety Authority. I want to share some serious road safety figures with you. Last month, there were 10,039 drivers detected for speeding and 709 drivers arrested for driving under the influence. But more importantly, 13 people were killed on our roads and 84 people were seriously injured. That's 13 people who are no longer with their friends or family, and 84 people whose lives may be changed forever. Help keep our roads safer by always driving at a speed appropriate to the road and weather conditions. From the Road Safety Authority and on Garda Síochána.
Did you know that from January 2024, the contributory state pension will become more flexible?
But what does that mean for me?
And me.
It means you can still claim your pension when you're 66 years of age, or you can wait and claim it at any point between the age of 67 and 70. You could receive a higher rate of pension as a result. To find out what option is best for you, visit gov.ie/flexible pension. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Leadership is about driving change. That's why we're pleased to introduce the first ever all-electric BMW i5. Seamlessly blending unmistakable BMW driving dynamics with instant electric performance and impressive range. While innovative technology connects to elevate every journey. Discover the joy of moving forward. Reserve your test drive at bmw.ie. Test drive subject to status and availability.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
The sale you have all been waiting for at Clare Clothing, Letterkenny. 2 days clearance, 50% off all winter stock this Friday and Saturday. Clare Clothing, Letterkenny.
It started with a rusty bike. I was clearing out the garage and I found my old one that I hadn't ridden for years. So I searched how to fix up a bike on TikTok. I found loads of videos on there, like how to fix a chain, change the brakes and mend a puncture. That led me to a video about local bike routes around Manchester. Turns out there's a nice one that goes past work. So I started cycling in. Now it's only me that's a bit rusty. It starts on TikTok.
The 9 till Noon Show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota. With over 45 years of experience. Trust us to help you on your electric journey.
Foy & Company's big January sale is now on, with up to 50% off furniture and huge discounts across all departments. Mattresses, Italian leather suites, curtains, paint and hardware. Also in rugs, cushions, lighting, wallpaper, artworks, mirrors and more. Now is the perfect time to get help with your interior design projects. Sale online at foys.ie and in store at Letterkenny and Ballybuffet. Don't miss out.
It's the big brand sale at Super Value, and there's great special offers like selected cupboard fillers like Fibre One, Belvita biscuits, and Jacob's rice cakes, any 3 for €5. Exclusive to Real Rewards members only. Plus, get money off vouchers every week on the app. So don't miss our big brand sale and pop in store or online for great savings at Super Value. T's and C's apply.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
Hi, Mark here from Highland Motors at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny. What would you look for in a new car? Maybe a reversing camera with reversing sensors, bright LED headlights, or maybe you're into your tech, like Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Wireless, of course. If you also like great comfort and want all of this at a really good price, the new Citroen C4X U Edition is the car for you. Call in to me at Highland Motors at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny. Oh, and that really good price? $29,900 on the road.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
OK, it's 11:26. We're in the company of Michael and Fionnuala. It's That's Entertainment, where we ease our foot off the gas a little bit as we head into the weekend. Let us go to the theatre, namely on Greenon Theatre. I don't know if this is a typo. Yeah, X is close to A. Anthony's Big Gay Ball, or is it the
Xanthony? Yeah,
Anthony.
Anthony, yeah, Xanthony. Because I looked it up. I was watching him on video because I was like, "How do you pronounce this gentleman's name?" Anthony's Big Gay Ball is tomorrow night in the theatre, and as you was chatting about coming to the end of the week and unwinding and putting the woes of the world aside, this is definitely. Fitting the description. It's tomorrow night. It's on Greenon at 7:30. It's a 2-hour show, a cabaret. It says here comedy, drag performances from local and international talents, and it's all put together by this award-winning performer and writer called Xanthony, who has taken to the stage with this show at Electric Picnic, Latitude, all together now, and something called K-Fest. So I was looking this up online because I obviously do not know this person, and it looks amazing. It looks like it's fun. It looks like it's larger than life.
It's a Ron Seal job. I think it's going to look exactly what it says in the tin.
Exactly what it says.
It's going to be a big gay ball.
Yeah, exactly. A big gay ball. So it's worth giving it a push, I think, and telling people that if you want to just completely unwind and see something that is very different and looks to be a ton of fun. It says somewhere in the oh yeah, I took it in actually, yeah. A lot of glam and a lot of tomfoolery. So it'll be a bit of crack. It's tomorrow night, so I think it's worth putting on the radar for people.
Right, both of you have Echo down, so we'll start with you, if that's okay. Michael, so tell us about Echo. It's on Disney.
Echo is, and here we send Greg to sleep for 5 minutes.
Yeah, can't wait for this to end.
It's a new Marvel superhero series.
Yay!
Yes.
I think we do have a shortage of them, so the addition of another one is actually very
this is number 12, is it? It's 10, sorry, the 10th. This is the 10th of the Marvel TV series. I did get the sarcasm in that, but it is the 10th series. That means there's almost as many episodes now of Marvel shows as there are episodes of EastEnders in a single week, which is very exciting. So Echo is a sequel or a continuation or a spin-off from Marvel's Hawkeye series from a couple of years ago. And what Marvel are doing with this 10th TV series is focusing for 5 one-hour episodes on a villain, which they don't do very often. They focused on Loki, but most of their shows have been about heroes, or at least anti-heroes. But Maya Lopez, the central character in this series, is very definitely a villain. She is a killer, a cold-blooded killer who works for the Kingpin. And as I said, this is like a sequel, continuation or spin-off to the Hawkeye series, but it also is a continuation of the Daredevil TV series, because minor spoiler, it's not really a spoiler, but both the Daredevil and the Kingpin are appearing in this series. So I'm 2 episodes into the 5. The 5 episodes, I can't wait to say this on air again, they dropped, Greg. Usually Marvel drop 1 episode a week. They drop episode 1, then they drop episode 2, then they drop episode 3. But this time they dropped all 5 episodes.
Oh, wow, what a drop.
So
it's violent, isn't it? I was going to play the trailer out to our watchers, our viewers, but can't.
It's mature audiences. It's the first time Marvel have put a mature audiences sign on any of their shows. So there's a big fight scene in the first episode that is very much like the big fight scenes that were in the Daredevil TV show, and it has Daredevil in as well, the big fight scene, and it is pretty spectacular. It's what I like about a good fight scene. It's rewatchable. You immediately want to rewatch it, and I did rewatch it because I
never ever rewatched a fight scene.
I rewatch fight scenes all the time. Yeah, really good ones. Really
Have
good.
You?
No, never.
No, I've never even heard someone say, and it's one of those you can rewatch.
Oh yeah, immensely rewatchable.
It's brand new.
I love to see how it's put together, and I love to get caught up in the storytelling.
I get you. I'm not judging you.
No.
Just never heard tell.
Particularly
I totally
here.
am judging him.
Yeah. Fionnuala's definitely judging me. It's her hobby, and she judges everything, so it's great concerning. The thing about this show is, right, this is what's really cool about this show, and I love this. It's the main actress, Alakwa Cox is the name of the actress, no relation to Charlie Cox. She is native.
Who's Charlie Cox?
Daredevil.
Oh
my god! I keep forgetting who I'm in the room.
Charlie Cox name. It's a
Charlie
character
Cox
name.
is the actor. He's the guy in Kin.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Oh my
Never
lord.
watched Kin.
Kin's good.
Courtney Cox, I know her.
Yeah, she was on Misfits of Science. And then she did a sitcom called Friends, I think.
Okay.
So anyway, Alakwa Cox is a Native American actress. Cox was born deaf. She was born and raised in an Indian reservation. She's also an amputee, and she's nonverbal. And it's very...
Is this in real life?
In real life, in real life.
Okay,
so it's extremely unusual to have a main character in an action show who fits all those criteria. And this show is... They went to Choctaw Nation, and the makers worked very closely with that particular Native American community to use the actual history of it, and to bring it into the show, which there's a lot of flashbacks in the first couple episodes that I've seen. Like there's one of them set around the year 1200, and it's spectacular. It looks amazing. But the main character, the very fact that she uses sign language to communicate, the very fact is she's also, despite being an amputee, it hasn't held her back. She's a fantastic stunt performer, and she does a lot of her own fighting. Not all of it, but nobody does. But she does a lot of her own stunt work. And she has never acted before. She did a high school play.
So the program was effectively
built around
literally made for her.
Yeah,
okay.
essentially. She is fantastic. That's the bottom line. I have to say, I remember watching her in Hawkeye, and I thought this is a real standout character. I loved her in Hawkeye. I rewatched Hawkeye again over Christmas because it's a Christmas show, and this time I knew she was getting a spin-off. She's fantastic, and I'm absolutely loving the show, and I'm giving it a good solid 9 out of 10. Great action show.
Okay.
I just love it. Really
Fionnuala,
love it.
have you started it yet?
I finished it. I'm a normal
Of course.
person. I started, I finished.
Off air before we start, I really haven't had a chance to watch any TV.
That's the only two things I watched.
The two things you've actually completely and utterly inhaled them.
And you also watched Doctor Who, but you're not putting it on the list. You watched loads. You watched Doctor Who.
Well, that was over Christmas.
I'm so proud that I got Fionnuala to watch Doctor Who.
It was better than I thought, I have to say.
You liked it. Yes, you liked it.
I did like it.
Yeah, you liked it. I was vindicated.
I'm not sure I would go back. You told me I need to go back and watch it from the start.
I didn't say you'd need to. I said you'd enjoy it now that you're into it.
Echo is one. I did enjoy the Doctor Who, and I will watch the new series.
I never tire of hearing Fionnuala say how much she enjoyed Doctor Who.
But Echo is one that it's the as he says the new Marvel one. Look, I watched the whole lot too because it actually each episode is shorter and shorter.
Yeah,
so
very short.
It starts off. The first one is 54 minutes, and the last I don't get it either. And the last one is 40 minutes.
Yeah, the second one was 39, 37 even. I watched it.
The rest of them are all just over half an hour, so it's very fast, easy watching.
Yeah, it's a long movie.
For Marvel, it's very violent. For Marvel and for what they've usually done. Really, and there's a small bit of me that kind of is like, Marvel seems to be picking these things now because it suits them to be seen to be doing diverse things as well. You know, it fits in with them champion diversity. The actress is unbelievable in this. I mean, you just went, and once you look it up and read, because I was watching it and you're kind of like going, is she deaf or is she an amputee? You know, or is she doing both? And to find out that she's actually both deaf and an amputee is unbelievable. To think the level of acting in it, as Michael says, the amount of just even general stunts that she's doing in it is phenomenal.
Yeah,
now. Phenomenal.
And the emotion she brings to the scenes, like, I mean, she's carrying a lot of hurt and a lot of anger with her.
She does it all with her.
You have to do it with your face.
She nails it with her eyes.
Very good.
She's so good.
She really is absolutely excellent. It does, and I say that try to say that it does make the program slightly more difficult to watch, because although it probably makes it better in the sense that you really have to concentrate on watching it.
I know what you mean.
This is not a program that you can kind of be fiddling away on your phone because you're going to miss things. Because when there's not a dip and in the silences, a lot is happening.
Yeah.
Because it's set in, to be honest, it's largely set in the deaf world. There's a lot of it where they completely either muffle or kind of take away the sound entirely, so you're kind of getting the action from her perspective.
Gamble from them, was it?
Huge gamble.
It is, because in fairness,
it had to be done right.
It does, and it.
When they do that in fight scenes, it looks, you know, when they took the sound away for the in the big first fight.
Oh yeah, they do, and even
you've never seen that before.
And you have like the people she's fighting arguing amongst themselves, but you don't know what they're saying, and she can't relate what they're saying because things are happening so quickly and that kind of thing. And so it's very interesting in that sense, and it's very done differently. And you definitely have to kind of focus when you're watching it, because that's the thing. I had to kind of rewind back again and go, "What? I've missed something there now," because you were momentarily distracted by something else. But the other side of it then is, though, I don't really get it. I'm not really sure where Marvel is going, and they really need to start landing the plane for me. It's like they're doing all these bits and pieces now. We're told eventually it's all going to come together in some way in whatever is, I don't know, the next movie or whatever. But this is all part of this stage 4 in Marvel, you know, since they finished the Avengers and everybody.
It sounds like, and we do joke in the past, it just sounds like an awful lot of hard work to keep up to date with everything and remember everything. And
it's heading in that direction with it now, and they're bringing in a lot of stuff, which is, it's for me as somebody that it wasn't a comic book person and kind of got into Marvel through Marvel movies. They're bringing in a lot of stuff now that's more, to my mind, obviously big comic book people may feel different, it's kind of on the periphery. I'd never heard of this Echo. I'm assuming that there must be some sort of a comic book, or at least
she's been around.
Thread.
Yeah, she's been around.
It's a good thread in one of the.
It's like Miss Marvel. She's been around. She's been around.
But
for the
both Miss Marvel and Echo, you know what I mean, and even Loki are fair. You know, they're, to my mind, they're kind of periphery characters that now they've brought into the fore. You know what I mean, in big ways. And you're just kind of, I need them to either give me some sort of direction or land the plane.
I know what you're saying.
I'm in the middle of Lost now at the moment. I feel like eventually this is not going to play out. Yeah. You know, it needs to.
You've more faith.
I need to see where it's going to go.
I mean, I still feel it's like a studio. I don't think it's actually. I know there is connections, but it's like, you don't expect everything that's on Apple's platform to be, you know, this is just a standalone 5-part TV series.
A wee bit in a lot of things in life, when you're explaining, you're losing to some extent, if you know what I mean. The fact that you have to explain that, or it's open for debate,
it's open for
means that it's, you know, that feeling is
one thing. I would go back to a different point there about the representation of it and stuff, and because a lot of the actors in this are of Native American extraction, I have to say as well, one thing I loved about this was how strong everybody in the support cast was. One of my favourite shows of recent years was Stumptown, which was the Kobe Smulders Private Eye show. I wish that had continued. I love a good Private Eye show, and I love Kobe Smulders. There was a lot of Native American performers in that, and I remember saying even in here at the time that I honestly didn't think, it was great to see representation, but I didn't think the performers were all that strong sometimes, because they had gone to a smaller community to get people on board. That is not the issue here. I thought the supporting cast were fantastic. Like the character Biscuits, I think he's hilarious. I love the little sidekick guy who kept making all the worst mistakes, like when he's in the smashed up truck driving by his grandmother who owns the truck. So the point is, I thought the casting in this was excellent, and I wasn't worried about them just ticking boxes.
Yeah. So in other words, there is a diversity, equality, and inclusion movement, which is grand if that's applied, but not to the detriment of the
talent.
Quality of the
talent.
Okay.
Yeah. And I, in the past, as much as I want to see inclusion, I'm quite happy, because it's interesting. I mean, if you see somebody you've never seen before in a TV series, that should be a good thing. But if the performer they've chosen can't act, that's a bad thing.
Back with more after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota Port Road, Letterkenny. Stockists of a wide range of used passenger and commercial vehicles.
So he was like messaging me all night, and then he just ghosted me.
No way.
Yeah. He was like, "You're so hot, I want to come over."
Okay.
And I was like, "Cool." And he was like, "I'm on my way, driving over right now."
And then?
Nothing.
Phone use while driving can be deadly. Your phone, it won't kill you to put it away. From the Road Safety Authority, visit rsa.ie.
Return, refund, recycled. Ireland's deposit return scheme is coming. From the 1st of February 2024, when you buy a drink in a bottle or can with the return logo, you'll pay a small deposit. Once you're refreshed, return your empty, undamaged bottle or can to any shop or supermarket and get your deposit back. The result? Less litter, less waste, and better recycling for Ireland. For more, visit return.ie.
If you've got a smart meter, you should get an Electric Ireland smart meter plan too. Why? Because you can see a breakdown of your energy usage like never before. From heating, cooking, lighting, and more. Now you can find out exactly how much electricity you use by hour, day and type of appliance, making your usage clearer and your world brighter. Sign up to a smart meter plan at electricireland.ie. Smart meter required, T's and C's apply.
Are you a car mechanic interested in learning about electric vehicles? Northwest Regional College is delivering a 15-week course which will provide learners with a Level 4 UK or Level 6 Irish electric vehicle qualification. This cross-border programme is funded by the Department for the Economy in partnership with ATU, NWRC and the Northwest Tertiary Education Cluster. Applications close on the 19th of January at noon. Visit nwrc.ac.uk to find out more.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
The 9 till Noon Show, brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, where you can care for your car with Toyota Relax, giving you a year's warranty with your service. Terms and conditions apply.
Drumkeen Community Childcare requires a full-time early years educator. Candidates must hold a minimum FETAC Level 5 in early years. Please send CV to drumkeencommunitychildcare@gmail.com or call Melissa on 9134844.
Britain's at House to Home Interiors Bridgend and Britain's Furniture Moville January sale is now on. Prices not to be repeated in our biggest sale yet. 311 sofas starting from $10.99, flooring starting at $7.99 a square yard, mattresses starting at $1.99, slide robes from $3.99. Dining tables all reduced and starting at just $1.99. So call in to any of our stores this January in Cooley Moville or in Bridgend.
Tá dánig airí beagán níos mó. Ach beidir go gíleach níos mó rud ag an eile. Cílíonn níos mó turbína gaoithe agus níos mó a chuirsála. Cílíonn níos mó betheag súlachta agus níos mó stórála fuinmh. Cílíonn níos mó hydroganna agus níos mó fermacha graine. Tuis go gílíonn níos mó fuinmh glán marachtáil níos éifachtaí. Níos mó nabhsplachas fuinmh. Sin an fá go bhfuil mit níos mó ná món. Fálam níos mó ag mórdinmóna.ie. Board na Mona.
Hands off our land. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
The new IFA president has vowed to fight the confiscation of farmers' land. Board B, a Kuwait proposal tells farmers who they should buy cattle from. Taoiseach vows to resolve VAT issues and TAMS grants. Minister backtracks on acres payments. Plus, don't miss our top tax-saving tips that could save you thousands, including farmer case studies and advice on how to minimise your revenue bill.
Only inside the Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Saturday's Lotto jackpot is an estimated €12.5 million. So, what's the first thing you'd do at €12.5 million? That is genius. Better get a ticket sold. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Airona air-to-water heat pump and Uflex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
Okay, so there'll be some limited bright to sunny spells today. Highest temperatures of 3 to 5 degrees. Calm and dry tonight with frost setting in. Lowest temperatures of -2 to +2 degrees with some clear spells. Now, earlier on, Michael mentioned a show that's in Ungrian on this weekend, Exanthony's Big Gay Ball. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that now with Aoife Bella, who's in studio with us. Aoife, good morning to you.
Hello. Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for very showbiz. Hello.
Very showbiz. Yeah, I'm here to bring the schnaz, the pizzazz.
Hey, well, don't use it all up because that's what we want from you at the weekend. Talk to us about this show, how you got involved in it.
Yeah, so tomorrow's show, it's a big old cabaret. It's this quite a fabulous celebration of some amazing queer artists, and it's part of First Fortnight, which is a brilliant mental health initiative festival to kind of make that first fortnight of January a little bit more, I think, bearable for a lot of people, which is great. I was reluctant to book myself for it because it is a difficult first fortnight, so I was like, will I do it? I will. So I came up yesterday, and I'm very excited for tomorrow. I'll be doing some comedy and bringing a little bit of what I do to the stage, which is a very good Daniel O'Donnell impression, so I would really highly recommend you come along.
That sounds interesting indeed.
Yeah.
Do you get the full gob, or is it just vocally, or what?
Oh, I don't want to give too much away. I'll just tell you that once upon a time in Dunlow, Daniel O'Donnell opened a charity shop where he put a load of his suits on sale, and that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Sounds authentic.
Yeah.
You are originally from Donegal, of course, now living in Dublin, so it's a return home for you to perform at home.
Yes, yeah. It's my triumphant return.
Have you performed up here much previously?
I had a show up here a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, so that was about 25 years ago, is how it feels. I supported Jim Gaffigan, the American comedian, in Angrinon, and that was amazing because I grew up in that theatre. My mum was a stage manager there, so it's quite lovely to kind of come back and do my own thing on the stage.
So how do you define are you a stand-up comedian? Are you an entertainer? I know they're all in and of the same, but if I were billing you, how would I describe your act?
An entity, I would describe myself
Explain
now
to
as
me like
a
I'm
cabaret.
three.
Okay, all right. So when a man and a woman love each other very much, so I would describe what I do now as a cabaret artist.
Yeah.
So I would have started in stand-up comedy and sort of fumbled my way through that to kind of find where I wanted to be, which is there's something about cabaret that's just slightly more feral than stand-up comedy, and it's a lot more sort of live and alive and
more
electric
expressive
and
too, isn't
magnetic.
it?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not to do any stand-up comedians any disservice, don't get me wrong.
Oh, of
but
course, yeah.
It gives you just more scope, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't want the stand-up comedians coming after me now, but, but that's
why
it.
I'm insulating you. You are so the show tomorrow. We would describe it's going to be like what it says in the tin. I imagine it's going to be a big gay ball, but in how is it like a variety show, or how would you try and frame it?
Yeah, I think I would describe cabaret at its core is variety.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Tomorrow you'll get drag acts, you'll get burlesque acts, you'll get a bit of whatever it is that I do, which is some ethereal, nondescript comedy. You'll get some music, and I mean, there's been conversations had about hula hoops and flames and glow stick. You know, you'll get a little bit of everything. I think that there's no way you'd go to a cabaret show and leave without seeing something that you connected with or enjoyed.
Fun sounds to be like a real important word in this, that people will have a lot of fun.
Completely. And I think sometimes that's something that's missing from experiences, is just going and letting your guard down and having like a genuinely, absolutely fun time.
And that's not just for the audience, that's for those taking part in it as well.
100%.
The performers.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm most excited about, is getting to meet the other performers, and you know, we'll all be coming from different places and bringing different energies, and having the crack backstage too, and supporting each other through it.
And have you any other projects in the pipeline? You were the brain behind Cabaret.
Yes, yeah, that's me. So I run a cabaret myself up in Dublin, called
Where?
Egg, and it's based in Bellow Bar in Portobello, which is brilliant because after the show you get to go upstairs and do karaoke with all the old men who drink there. Yeah,
including myself, probably.
I've seen you there a few times on the mic.
I was on about downstairs. What are you on about?
Sorry.
I'm not the old man doing the karaoke.
Oh no. But yeah, we have a lovely thing going.
It's hard to get karaoke now.
It is.
And do you know it's hard to get karaoke too, whereby, I don't want to be careful. I'm not insulting anyone. I'm not talking about Donegal, right? But the host of the karaoke is really a singer that can't get a gig as a singer, right? Yeah. So they do like 5 songs. You get up for 1. They do 10.
Yeah.
What?
I'm not going to say anything.
No, I'm not saying. I haven't seen it here. I haven't seen it here, but I've seen it elsewhere. You can't be just karaoke where everyone's singing is karaoke, right?
Yeah.
And they can't sing. If you can sing, don't do karaoke. Start a band.
Right? Yeah. There's nothing worse than someone getting up to do karaoke and they do a good job. Jesus.
How dare. You sound really like Celine Dion.
Yeah.
Get off the stage. I'm going to go up and murder That's Life by Frank Sinatra. Anyway. Be that as it may, that's upstairs in somewhere in Dublin. So that's got nothing to do with the show tomorrow night.
I know.
Okay.
But you can come in and see what I do in Dublin in the Bellow Bar in Portobello, and I'm developing a one-person project about the life and times of Mr. Daniel O'Donnell himself.
Oh,
so
wow.
that'll be something to keep an eye out for. But
Very
tomorrow
good.
in Angrena,
have you had any review from Daniel O'Donnell yet? Because he has been known to see acts and give them the thumbs up, the thumbs down, the middle.
That's actually what I'm here to do today, is to reach out. Daniel, if you're listening, please get in touch.
I mean, it would be amazing for the poster.
I know, it would be
You
just
know,
the one
I
word
think
review.
you have to work crap.
Questionable, says Daniel
What?
O'Donnell.
What?
What?
No, I'm sure
You're
it'll
doing
be,
what?
I'm sure it'll be absolutely fantastic, and no doubt about that. So tomorrow night, there's still some tickets available.
There's still tickets going, yeah.
Okay,
and
so
it'll be truly a really fabulous thing to kickstart your year
it
with.
sounds like actually it's going to be a whole pile of fun. It's
hootenanny.
Exanthony's big gay ball tomorrow evening in On Green On Theatre, Saturday, January 13th, which is tomorrow evening indeed, and it's as part of First Fortnight 2024. What's that?
So that's a festival that happens over the first 2 weeks of January.
Across the country, not On Green On specifically.
So not just in On Green On, but On Green On, it looks like I've been doing a good few events around it. And you see just all sorts of performances, cabaret, comedy, music happening. And the idea is, to get people out of their houses in those first 2 weeks, because these are the 2 weeks where it's very, very easy to just get a case of the Januaries, you know.
Yeah,
so I think that
sure.
it's there to support people through that time and to kind of give people something to get up and go out to. And get
up and get out of their seats as well. Are you going, Anthony? Anthony. Can I tell you, Anthony Cahill?
Yep,
he's going to be there. He's going to be there. I can confirm that. Is Michael Leddy going to be there?
I think we have other plans. We'll still be probably tied up, myself and Fionnuala, with our own stuff.
No.
I know, it's terrible. Boring. I know, terrible.
That's good.
But it does sound great. And I, like you mentioned, the Jim Gaffigan show. I've seen Aoife a few times on stage. I'm a big fan.
Thank
but
you.
I remember that night in particular because I love Jim Gaffigan as well. I mean, it's Aoife and Jim Gaffigan as well. That was a great night. That was a brilliant night.
It was brilliant. Worthwhile to just have like a really amazing American comedian come on stage and butcher your name. AOFE. Here's AOFE coming through.
You just sorted out the first 5 minutes of his material.
Yeah, it's a movie of his, Linoleum, which I nearly was reviewing today, but I just didn't get to it during the week. So it was nearly a Jim Gaffigan revival here. But he's such a funny guy.
Is it tough opening for a big act, Aoife?
You know, I found that gig especially tough because that was my homecoming show. I hadn't done a show here yet, and it was a big one to start with. But I looked out in the audience and I was thinking, okay, there's stuff I'm going to say here, and I'm making eye contact with my granny. But here we go. You know, that was okay. I think it was put a couple of hairs on my chest, and I think coming back now to do something that's a little bit maybe more authentic to what I actually really love to do is really exciting.
It's a tough one getting up on stage, and it's and you know it not from what you imagine it, but listening to comedians, it's really, really tough. And this is from comedians that tour. They've got access to smaller clubs where they can work through their material and refine it and see what works and what doesn't work. And I'm not saying you didn't have that opportunity, but to come back, open for a big act, up on the stage, the lights go on, everyone's looking at you, and you have to deliver. I mean, that's pressure.
That's
Do you know what I mean?
Do you know when you put it like that?
I know, you're successfully talking Aoife out of ever doing this again.
There's actually a spot going tomorrow.
We've now moved successfully into cabaret. We're never going back. We're never going back to the stand-up buzz. All right, Aoife, listen, best of luck tomorrow night.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck tomorrow night, and I'm sure it's going to be great fun. And there are some tickets available if you want a great night out. Is it over 16s, over 18s?
Do you know, that's a brilliant question. I would say come along and find out. Take a risk.
That's Aoife's recommendation. I have to be slightly more nominated.
I know.
Well, do the old school, earmuffs at certain times, possibly.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just be on the side of the stage indicating, now cover your ears. Yeah, exactly. We'll look after people.
I know that. Listen, come here. It's going to be fun. All right, Aoife, Bella, thank you so very much indeed. Great to speak to you, and it's great to have you back up performing here in your native Donegal. Sling that one over here, Fionnuala.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just checking to see whether or not there's and if there is an age thing on it.
Oh, yeah,
recommended age is 18 plus.
Okay, right, fair enough.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
16-year-olds.
Well,
fake ID.
16, I was going to say 16-year-olds can be pretty resourceful if they need to be. Okay. Right, we don't have any time to really get into. I wish we'd have adjusted these mics slightly differently so we can still hear from everyone. But anyway, be that as it may, I don't think we're going to get into anything else more specifically. So, what is your plans for the weekend, Michael Leddy? This is content now.
Yeah,
we're creating content.
We're creating content here. Well, myself and Fionnuala, because we're going to go to the cinema a couple of times and catch up on a couple of movies. So we'll have an all cinema special, I think, next Friday. We're going to see Aquaman. which was.
Are you going to do it next Friday?
Fionnuala's
It's the
pick.
highest.
I have a feeling Donald
we won't do it next Friday. It's
mysteriously.
over.
I might take next Friday.
Mysteriously,
It's the
I knew
highest,
Donald in the end.
It's the most successful of all the DCU.
Okay, we'll keep that.
Yeah.
They've all bombed
What
though.
else?
They've
This
all
one,
bombed.
this
And
is the
I'm
most
watching
successful.
the new Jason Statham movie. We're both seeing it. Obviously, we're going to see that tomorrow. The Beekeeper, and I didn't pick it, but I would have picked it anyway. The cinema picked it for me, but I was like, yeah, because I want to see it anyway. I would have gone to see it anyway because I feel like they're good intellectual stimulation. Look at his face.
Oh, sorry,
Look at Greg's
I don't know.
face,
You mean Jason Statham?
Yeah. Does it not make you think? No, there's rewatchable fight scenes. Those scenes we were chatting before you came in. Rewatchable fight scenes.
Have you ever rewatched a fight scene? He's rewatched fight scenes. Have you ever
from the Marvel films?
Has it ever even crossed your mind to rewatch a fight scene in a film?
I'd say potentially I've had some sort of error on the computer and I've done it by accident.
Oh, okay.
I've put it back and I'm like, oh, well, you know, I can't figure it out.
I'm sure there are
but, you know.
people out there who rewatch the bus fight scene from Mr. Nobody on YouTube from time to time.
Nope. Aoife, good luck. Thanks so much. We'll see you again soon. Fionnuala, it's great to have you back. Thank you so very much indeed. We'll look forward to chatting to you again before next Friday. Sorry, Michael. As always, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Caroline, who researched and produced the show, and Shannon working away on the programme as well. John Bresson's around the Northwest. Have a great weekend.